There are people who were never meant to become heroes, yet fate forces them to be. And Wang Lin is one of them. Born into an ordinary family, he carried a simple wish in his heart to cultivate immortality and repay his parents' kindness. But the world is never that kind. No talent, no background, no guidance, everything seemed to whisper to him, the path of cultivation is not for you. Yet in the midst of that hopelessness, Wang Lin chose something that very few have the courage to do. He kept going. He walked forward with stubbornness. He walked forward with longing. He walked forward with everything left in his resilient heart. A strange opportunity came to him, opening a path of cultivation drenched in blood and loneliness. There, every improvement required a sacrifice. Every step forward meant losing something precious. To grow stronger, he had to endure 100 times more than ordinary people. Renegade Immortal is the tale of a man who never submits. A man willing to defy the heavens, defy fate, and defy the world just to protect what his heart refuses to let go. This is not merely an immortal cultivation story. This is the journey of a soul so powerful that even eternity must bow. And today, I invite you to step into that journey, the journey of Wang Lin, the man who walks against the will of heaven to find the answer meant for himself. Pain, my body is in excruciating pain, extreme pain. Shanhu collapsed to the ground, his face pale, devoid of any color. Wang Lin stared blankly at the scene before him, taking a deep breath, thinking, what is my Dao heart? Hong Dai and Shanhu woke up one after another, and the illusory image of Chu Yi in the void also returned to his true form, gradually falling down. But at that very moment, a black ghost claw appeared in the void, suddenly grabbing. This ghost claw was very close to Chu Yi. His detached primordial spirit immediately changed color, letting out a scream and quickly rushing back into his body. In the instant the ghost claw grabbed him, his primordial spirit retreated to the side, but was still caught. Chu Yi's abdomen was instantly slashed, blood gushing out. However, the target of this ghost claw was not Chu Yi's body at all, but his storage bag. Chu Yi's body was only slightly injured, but his storage bag ripped apart with a bang, and many items flew out, including a pagoda, which, after being caught by the demonic claw, quickly flew back. Now Chu Yi's eyes turned bloodshot. Ignoring the wound in his stomach, his voice was unusually mournful, seemingly piercing the heavens and earth, causing heartbreak to those who heard it. Without hesitation, he relaxed his body, letting his primordial spirit leave his body to chase after the pagoda. Dinger, I will never let anyone take you away from me, absolutely not. Without his primordial spirit protecting him, Chu Yi's muscles immediately spurted out streams of fresh blood. His face turned ashen and slumped to one side. For Dinger, Chu Yi was willing to perish even if it meant his own death. Thousands of years of companionship, daily conversations, and cherished memories. This scene drove Chu Yi to the brink of madness. That's his Achilles heel. His primordial spirit flew away like lightning, but at that very moment, the old man on the coffin suddenly opened his eyes wide. A figure flashed before Chu Yi's primordial spirit, laughing loudly. Chu Yi, you truly have skill. If you were given another 1,000 years, you might be able to reach the peak-seeking stage. But you don't know that I, as the Grand Elder of the Yin sect, possess the 3 souls. You only destroyed one of my souls. How could you possibly kill me? With a faint laugh, the ghostly claws behind his body lit up and transformed into a young man. This young man's appearance was very similar to the old man's, and in his hand was the pagoda. Wang Lin took a deep breath at the scene before him, his eyes flickering, and landed on the ground. Beside him was the frail body of Hong Dai. At this moment, Chu Yi's eyes revealed a look of madness, staring at the old man as if he wanted to devour him alive. Give Dinger back to me. Dinger, haha, Chu Yi, you're quite the name of a corpse. This is the corpse of an immortal. I'm afraid you were already in the cycle of reincarnation when it was born. The old man laughed heartily, and the young man behind him also grinned, his right hand striking the pagoda. Immediately, a white light flew out from within. The female corpse appeared. Her white robes fluttered in the wind. Snow swirled in the air. Her green hair swayed in the breeze. A captivating fragrance filled the air. The moment the corpse appeared, even the Grand Elder of the Yin sect couldn't help but stare. Not a single word of mockery was uttered, only a eye at her beauty. Hong Deep was indeed very beautiful, but compared to the girl's corpse, she was like a spark compared to the sun. Wang Lin, nestled in the snow, only dared to glance at her, and then his heart trembled uncontrollably, as if an endless, irresistible force was drawing him in. It stirred in him the desire to steal the corpse, but his resolve was incredibly firm. He forcefully suppressed this thought as soon as it arose. Even so, cold sweat broke out all over his body. How terrifying! He took a deep breath, his gaze sweeping over. He saw Chihu, no longer breathing heavily, standing upright and walking dazedly towards the girl's corpse. But after walking a few meters, his expression changed drastically, suddenly snapping back to reality, his face filled with horror. Even Hang Deep showed a hint of bewilderment in her eyes. But being a woman, her gaze quickly returned to clarity. Wang Lin blinked, focusing on Hang Deep. When this person was alive, they must have been an immortal. Even I was shaken when I first saw them. The old man of the Yin sect withdrew his gaze. Dinger. Chu's eyes showed a look of infatuation, his nascent soul surging forward. The old man of the Yin sect snorted softly, his hands forming a hand seal. Then he forcefully clutched his chest, spitting out a stream of purple energy. The purple energy transformed into chains, forming a cage around Chu's nascent soul. Chu, I'll exchange this corpse for the Yin sect's treasure that locks nascent souls. You can't escape. The old man retreated. The young man behind him, who bore a striking resemblance to him, immediately threw the corpse to the old man. Then, the young man transformed into a black beam of light, entering the old man's forehead and disappearing. The old man's body continuously retreated, and in the blink of an eye, he was back beside the coffin. Holding the corpse, he shot like an arrow into the space in front of him. No! Chu's eyes turned bloodshot as he roared. Clang! Clang! He frantically slammed against the chains. Each blow caused the chains to flash with purple light, making Chu's primordial spirit tremble. But he seemed unaffected. Like a trapped beast that had lost its mate, he continued to pound wildly. Clang! Clang! Under his struggles, the surrounding space showed signs of collapse, and large cracks appeared. Chu's eyes were bloodshot, terrifyingly filled with hatred, yet tinged with madness. It was madness that drove him insane. Give Dinger back to me. Madman, Chu, you should return to your body now. If anything happens to your body, you'll only die. Old man Chu Yinzong looked at Chu's bloodshot eyes, his heart trembling. He used his fastest speed to shoot straight up into the sky, flying away like an arrow. As this person was about to fly into the cave entrance and leave at this moment, Chu's eyes seemed to be filled with blood. He had forgotten everything. In his eyes, only the corpse of Ding and I was constantly moving away. The time he spent with Ding and I flashed through his mind. If he lost Ding and I, his primordial spirit, which was originally heartless, now felt a sharp pain in his heart. This feeling came from his soul, from his primordial spirit. This pain was too strong, too agonizing. No, Ding and I Chu's body suddenly burst into flames. A loud explosion rang out, then shattered. It transformed into many flames, flying straight out from the gaps in the iron chain. Burning your primordial spirit, you're insane. The old man's face changed color. Burning one's primordial spirit is an act that leads to death. Unexpectedly, Chu willingly sought death just for a corpse. Under the burning of his primordial spirit at the mid-stage of the nascent soul realm, his strength instantly approached the late stage of the nascent soul realm. His primordial spirit, which had just reformed, now shattered again. Like a figure of fire, it instantly appeared beside the old man standing near the cave entrance. Give Dinger back to me. Each word was filled with boundless love. Chu didn't use any magic, but instead, with his primordial spirit body, he charged towards the old man. But this only made it more terrifying. Any divine power or magic spell could be countered. But this time, using a primordial spirit body equivalent to a late-stage nascent soul cultivator to attack was, in the eyes of the old man, Thi Yintong, only the word terrifying could describe it. Crack, crack. The surrounding space, which had already shown numerous cracks, now began to collapse. Shathu, showing a pained expression, immediately leapt up and flew like an arrow towards the cave entrance. Then, he charged straight into the cave. The old man's expression changed drastically, and without hesitation, he pointed at Chu's forehead. Immediately, the young man, flew out and stood in front of him. However, the third soul, having just appeared, collided with Chu, causing his soul to scatter. Give Dinger back to me. Chu's body blazed fiercely. His eyes were filled with madness. His ferocious expression was like a beast preparing to bite. "You madman!" The old man from the insect felt a chill run down his spine. He threw the girl's corpse away. He didn't want to die here because of a corpse. To embrace the body. A look of tenderness appeared in his eyes, and a satisfied smile played on his lips. "Dinger, no one can take you away. No one can." The signs of spatial collapse around them grew stronger. The cracks in the sky widened. Wang Lin was focused on Hong Dai. At this moment, his eyes suddenly flashed, and he silently wondered whether to stay or leave. Suddenly, Wang Lin's body transformed into a beam of light, shooting straight towards Hong Dai. Shan Hu was stunned by this, but said nothing. At this moment, life was more important. Wang Lin's speed reached its peak. Almost in the blink of an eye, the distance to Hong Dai was only 30 feet. Hong Dai's face immediately changed drastically. Although her body had recovered somewhat, her magic weapon was severely damaged. She also had internal injuries. Her cultivation was no longer at the late stage of the god transformation realm, but had dropped very low. It could be said that this was her lowest level ever. She couldn't help but coldly say, "Zheng Yu, if you kill me, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom will not let you off." "Haha, Hong Dai, your threat doesn't sound like it came from the mouth of a heavenly chosen daughter." Wang Lin laughed, patting his storage bag. The Forbidden's banner appeared in his hand, then vibrated. Forbidden's Chi immediately surged forth, swirling around him like a ferocious dragon. "Stop!" Following Wang Lin's shout, the swirling Forbidden's Chi condensed into a single point, forming a black Forbidden's Chi spear. Wang Lin held it in his hand and stepped towards Hong Dai. "Hong Dai, didn't you want to fight me?" In that instant, Wang Lin was like a celestial being, thrusting the spear forward. Boom! As the spear descended, cracks opened in the sky, creating a massive chasm. At a distance of 30 feet, Wang Lin leapt forward, thrusting the Forbidden's Chi spear directly at Hong Dai's head. "Zheng Yu, you're insane. With this collapse, if you don't run now, you'll never have another chance." Hong Dai's expression changed drastically. She quickly took out a white flying sword from her storage bag and hastily defended herself. She couldn't dodge, couldn't teleport, and couldn't help but block. Behind her were cracks, beside her were cracks, and in all directions were spatial rifts. A misstep and falling into one, without the star compass and the courage to burn her primordial spirit, would only lead to death. Boom! The white flying sword shattered into tiny pieces, scattering in all directions and disappearing into the numerous cracks. Wang Lin's spear also instantly shrunk considerably, but its offensive power only increased. "My life or death is none of your concern. Killing you it's not too late," Wang Lin said with a smile. However, his body trembled slightly as Hong Dai's heartless intent surged forward. This intent was incredibly powerful. Wang Lin couldn't stop it, but he could still resist it. Just killing Hong Dai would naturally shatter the intent realm. As for Hong Dai, Wang Lin absolutely had to kill her. She had wanted to kill him several times. If she didn't, there would definitely be great trouble later. Hong Dai gritted her teeth. The moment the Forbidden's Chi spear, like a lightning bolt, struck, she raised her right hand and used the jade bracelet on her wrist to pierce the spearhead. Clang! Wang Lin's spear shattered again, transforming into many streams of Forbidden's Chi, but it didn't condense again. A powerful surge of intent descended from the sky, causing Wang Lin's mind to become muddled. But Wang Lin's will was inherently firm. His talent was only average, but his willpower was extraordinary, reaching across the entire Vermilion Bird star. Even as a child, without magic, during the mountain climbing test at the Henyu sect, his willpower had already astonished others. Moreover, having undergone 400 years of training, he was practically as strong as steel. Even with the intent realm surrounding him, Wang Lin's body didn't stop moving. He flipped his right hand, and 9 wooden statues appeared before him. Time! The 9 wooden statues vibrated, randomly transforming into 9 figures. Blood flowed through the meridians of each figure. A ray of the time intent realm suddenly descended from the sky. Hong Dai used her jade ring to block the spear. Her body recoiled, and she trembled, spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. The surrounding space collapsed in waves, some even turning into nothingness. "Zheng Yu, I am a core disciple of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. If you kill me, you will die a gruesome death," Hong Dai cried out in fear. At this moment, she was truly terrified. She had only taken one step back when the time intent realm spread from the 9 wooden statues. Her expression changed again, and she choked out the realm of time and space. The time and space intent technique, unleashed by Ching Song, a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator from the Four-Sex Alliance, proved incredibly effective. His two right fingers, like sharp blades, carved into the wooden statue, then traced a straight line forward. Under the time and space intent technique, Hong Dai's body slowed down considerably. If she hadn't been injured beforehand, the time and space intent technique would have been nothing to worry about. But now it had become a chain binding her life. In Hong Dai's eyes, there was only hatred. Without hesitation, she raised her right hand, uttering a few eerie incantations. The jade bracelet immediately emitted a dazzling light. Under the light, the time and space intent technique instantly vanished. Wang Lin felt a sharp pain in his finger. This feeling was similar to when he had previously clashed with the immortal sword. Zhang Niu, I will remember you. It was you who forced me to pay a heavy price. It was you who forced me to open the primordial opening technique. See you again on the Vermilion Bird Star. The hatred in Hong Dai's words had reached its peak. After speaking, she quickly retreated, flying towards the black hole. At this moment, Yuan Kaitai's bracelet was emitting a white light. The rays of light intertwined, forming a huge black hole that appeared behind Hong Dai. Inside the black hole, a place resembling an altar suddenly appeared. It was a place on the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. Yuan Kaitai's bracelet, besides its inherent divine power, also had another effect. It allowed the wearer to safely return from any location in the immortal realm. The bracelet was originally an artifact of the immortal realm that the Vermilion Bird Kingdom had acquired years ago. Therefore, it was not surprising that it possessed such divine power. It was also because of this that Hong Dai was not afraid. But the price to pay to open the bracelet was very high. After returning to the Vermilion Bird Planet, Hong Dai's cultivation would no longer be at the late stage of the Transformation God Realm, but at the middle stage of the Transformation God Realm. At this moment, Wang Lin's body seemed unable to withstand the absolute emotion intent realm. Seeing Hong Dai about to leave, he was unwilling to let her go. If it weren't for that bracelet, Hong Dai would surely have died today. Once she returned, it would be very difficult to get another opportunity like this. Hong Dai, look what this is! Wang Lin shouted, raising his right hand. Suddenly, a fan with only 2 feathers remaining appeared in his hand. Hong Dai's eyes immediately became serious, staring intently at the fan, revealing a look of horror. Her steps involuntarily retreated a little. Sister's fan! What Wang Lin wanted was this moment, enduring the discomfort in his body caused by the absolute emotion intent realm. He threw the fan in his hand forward. At the same time, his nascent soul instantly flew out from his forehead. Wang Lin's nascent soul flew out, charging straight forward, then grabbed the 2 feathers on the fan. The cluster of feathers immediately burst into flames, suddenly transforming into a black shadow resembling Wang Lin. However, this black shadow had no face, only a pitch-black silhouette. The moment the black shadow appeared, Wang Lin's nascent soul shouted, "Explode!" Boom! The black shadow instantly exploded. Its energy scattered, shooting straight towards Hong Dai. Hong Dai's expression changed again, and she immediately retreated. At this moment, as she had entered the black hole, Wang Lin's nascent soul flew towards her. Stay! Wang Lin extended his right hand and swung out a powerful claw. Hong Dai was about to resist, but the explosion struck her, causing her to scream in agony and spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. At this moment, Wang Lin's claw had already landed in front of her. At this moment, Wang Lin was also risking his life. He didn't care about the possibility of his nascent soul being harmed after leaving his body. Therefore, his claw attack carried a hint of killing intent. Hong Dai raised her right hand, blocking in front of her. A beam of white light emanated from her body. This beam of light had an extremely powerful effect on the nascent soul. Because Wang Lin was very close, he immediately felt his nascent soul rapidly weaken. Swish! Wang Lin's claw struck. A flash of red light appeared. Blood spurted from Hong Dai's right arm. Under his claw, Hong Dai lost an arm, her face pale and green, her eyes closed, and she fell into the black hole. Wang Lin sighed inwardly, his nascent soul grabbed a feather and quickly returned to his body. In the instant the black hole closed, he was back. Late stage nascent soul to difficult to kill. Wang Lin retracted his hand and flew towards the exit. He had almost exhausted all his tricks. He even waited until her magical artifacts were nearly destroyed and her body was at its weakest, but still failed. Although I couldn't kill her, with this arm, I have many methods. I could even create a curse that would permanently halt your cultivation at the nascent soul stage. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, revealing a sinister glint. My cultivation is still insufficient. If I could reach the mid-stage nascent soul, the outcome of today's battle wouldn't have been like this. Wang Lin sighed again. He and Han Dai hadn't fought for long, only a few breaths. Madman, absolutely mad. The old man from the yin sect threw the girl's corpse away, cursing loudly in his heart. Just as he was about to rush forward, a loud noise suddenly erupted from the entrance, followed by collapse. The old man stood there stunned, watching the exit disappear, his heart filled with bitterness. Not only the old man, but even Shet Hu was astonished. Born in the morning, died in the evening. Seeing the exit disappear, Wang Lin quickly turned and plunged to the ground. Many layers of space had shattered here. If he couldn't fly up, then he could only descend. Before Joey and the old man fought, his divine consciousness had silently searched the ground for a while. Now he had a target in mind. Therefore, almost instantly, he reached a deep pit that hadn't disappeared on the surface. Without hesitation, he rushed straight inside. At this moment, the old man of the yin sect also immediately turned around, his divine consciousness sweeping across the area before rushing straight towards where Wang Lin had just landed. Shet Hu touched his storage bag. The star compass was still inside, but unfortunately, it was too severely damaged to be used again. Moreover, he didn't have time to repair it. In desperation, he hurriedly followed behind the old man. At this moment, the most important thing was to protect his life first. Ding and I, look, the man who wanted to abduct you is fleeing. I told you, anyone who tries to abduct you must die. After I use my last ounce of life to kill him, we'll vanish into thin air together, okay? How strange. Why do I feel a little unfamiliar with you? I seem to remember something. Ding and I? Ji embraced the girl's corpse, his eyes filled with bewilderment, but then he lost his composure and whispered. He lightly kissed the corpse's lips, then frowned, a murderous glint in his eyes. He carried the corpse and chased after the old man from the yin sect. Wang Lin entered the cave and quickly descended. Gradually, the sounds of the third floor collapsing faded into the distance. Although still continuous and affecting things, the fourth floor was the safest place at this moment. The only way to leave this place is through Shet Hu's star compass. Wang Lin thought to himself as he descended. After descending for a while, Wang Lin saw light ahead. A glint flashed in his eyes, but he didn't rush out, instead clinging to the cliff beside him. After a few breaths, a figure swiftly passed by. As it passed Wang Lin, the figure stopped, let out a soft snort, and immediately flew towards the light. Shet Hu descended shortly after. After seeing Wang Lin, he was slightly stunned. At this moment, Wang Lin also immediately flew out, transmitting a message. Brother Shet Hu, here, our cultivation levels are the lowest. Be careful of that old man from the yin sect. Shet Hu nodded, and at the same time flew out from within. In the instant they flew out, both were stunned. At this moment, a series of enormous, magnificent palaces appeared before the two, seemingly without end. All the palaces were constructed from spirit stones, especially the central one. From afar, the immortal energy emanating from these palaces was astonishing. Is the central palace made of immortal jade? Shet Hu took a deep breath. Wang Lin's divine sense was even stronger than his. A quick glance revealed a look of horror. He saw that the central palace wasn't entirely made of immortal jade. Half of it was spirit stones. Even so, it showed just how much the palace's owner had spent. The immortal king's sleeping quarters. A joyful voice came from afar, the old man from the yin sect laughing heartily with a surprised expression. I wonder whose immortal king's sleeping quarters it is, to be able to preserve the complete body of an immortal like this. The old man laughed heartily and rushed forward. He intended to enter the palace complex. Just then, Ji appeared, carrying the girl's corpse. As soon as he appeared, he immediately stepped onto the steps in front of him. It looked slow, but in just 3 steps, he reached the old man of the yin sect. Dinger, kill him and we'll go into the void. Okay, I can feel myself weakening, but it seems I understand some things. It seems I've remembered some things from that year. I seem to know who she is, Chi said affectionately, looking at the girl's corpse. The old man of the yin sect's expression changed, and he immediately retreated. Chi raised his head and looked at his opponent. His body suddenly moved, striking directly at the old man. The power of a late-stage transformation realm cultivator, when directed at anyone, is a terrifying nightmare. The old man's expression changed, and he quickly dodged. Chu, you're crazy. I've already returned the immortal's corpse to you. Why won't you let it go? There must be other corpses in this palace. If you like, go find them. Why keep following me, T? He old man from the yin sect roared angrily. Chi carefully examined the girl's corpse, then gently kissed her forehead before closing his eyes. When he opened them, the infatuation was gone, replaced by an unprecedented clarity. That kind of gaze was absolutely impossible for him. Black and white, clear and distinct. He took a step forward, and immediately a bolt of lightning struck from the sky. Within the lightning, Chi's entire body was like a blazing shooting star, suddenly hurtling straight towards the old man. The surrounding space erupted with thunderous explosions, then began to collapse. But this time, the phenomenon in the air was remarkably clear. The sound of something being torn apart suddenly rang out. It was like an invisible giant hand ripping open a huge crack. My intention is delusion. My Dao heart is Dinger. I willingly die for Dinger, Shiyi's voice echoed from within the meteor shower. This meteor shower streaked across the sky, carrying with it a series of tearing sounds. My life, Shiyi's life, has reached its end, but I have no regrets. The old man's expression changed again, cursing loudly, and he immediately retreated. He knew the other party had reached their end. If he persevered a little longer, the other party would surely perish. Unexpectedly, at the end of my life, I had to rely on burning my primordial spirit to achieve enlightenment. Chu-Yi's voice carried a hint of lament and regret, slowly echoing. At this moment, the sky suddenly darkened. A colossal pressure descended from the heavens. Wang Lin's body, powerless to resist, was instantly crushed from the sky to the ground. Shadhu was even more overwhelmed. His entire body was pinned to the ground, powerless to struggle. Even the palace complex on the ground crumbled into fragments. Only the central palace managed to stand, though it also showed large cracks. A deep sense of dread gripped Wang Lin. He stared in horror at the burning meteor, his mind blank. Even with his strong will, he trembled uncontrollably. So this is the true Tao. What a pity. It's the final step of my life. My master once said that the path of a Taoist is one of life and death. So this is what it means. A fist-sized red bead appeared above Chu-Yi's head. Upon appearing, it instantly shattered, transforming into a red liquid that merged into the burning star. At this moment, the burning star silently and eerily dissipated. A figure enveloped in red light stood towering between heaven and earth. His eyes held a deep sense of regret and melancholy, his right hand suddenly pointing towards the old man of the yin sect. The old man tried to dodge, but found himself unable to move, his face turning pale and astonished as he looked at Chi. Seeking the peak, he said bitterly, "That year, when I first came to the immortal realm, I realized the realm of delusion. You imposed it on me. I understand your purpose. But even knowing it, I have no regrets. If there is reincarnation, I would still choose to be with you." Chi didn't even bother to look at the old man, but lowered his head to look at the girl in his arms. That year, he was the most talented among the 5 sects, possessing an unsurpassed perseverance, cultivating the 5 elements technique. Eventually, step by step, he surpassed his fellow disciples and became the only late-stage nascent soul cultivator in the sect. From then on, his cultivation steadily rose, becoming increasingly profound. Upon reaching the God transformation stage, he was gifted a martial cauldron by his master and ascended to the immortal realm, surprising everyone. Upon his arrival, his entire being underwent earth-shattering changes. In the immortal realm, he unexpectedly entered an elegant pavilion. There he was met with the sight of a young woman's corpse lying on a bed. From that moment on, as if possessed by a demon, he lost his way. In his eyes, she was everything. For her, he betrayed his sect, causing his master immense pain, yet he couldn't bring himself to kill his beloved disciple. He merely sighed 3 times, flicked his sleeve, and departed. He loved her corpse, turning into a madman. A series of rumors spread throughout the Vermilion Bird Star, but they didn't affect his feelings. He had no regrets. With such infatuation, his cultivation unexpectedly grew higher and higher, becoming a nascent soul cultivator. On the day his master failed in his attempt to reach the peak realm and passed away, he stood outside the Five Elements sect, kneeling there for 7 days. Years later, the Five Elements sect suffered 3 calamities, but he was no longer a disciple of the Five Elements sect. At this moment, scenes from the past flashed through Qiyi's mind. The old man from the Yin sect was no longer capable of struggling in the peak realm. Essentially, he had no hope of survival. The vast difference in cultivation levels had crushed all resistance. Qiyi's eyes were extremely clear. Although no longer as affectionate as before, there was something deeply etched in his memory. He bowed his head again, gently kissed the corpse's forehead, then glanced at Chihu and Wang Lin. Finally, his gaze settled on Chihu, and in a calm voice, he said, "Little brother, can you help me take care of my wife?" Chihu's body was instantly lifted off the ground by a miraculous force. He looked at Qiyi in surprise. This Qiyi raised his eyebrows. Chihu felt bitter. He couldn't preserve this corpse. Once the elders of the clan found out, it would greatly affect his future. But at this moment, the dying wish of a peak-level cultivator was something no one dared to refuse. "I agree." Chihu took a deep breath and said softly. Qiyi waved his hand, shook his head, and said, "You are the young clan leader of the giant demon clan. Of course, you have concerns. If you're afraid of following in my footsteps, then forget it." After saying that, his gaze shifted to Wang Lin, and he said softly, "Are you willing to help me?" Wang Lin immediately felt the pressure on his body lessen, and he stood up from the ground. After hearing Qiyi's words, he fell silent. "My wife needs immortal jade to preserve her body. You need 1,000 blocks of immortal jade in 1,000 years. This may be difficult for you, but it's not too great. Little brother, do you agree?" Qiyi's eyes were clear as he looked at Wang Lin, speaking slowly. "I can't guarantee I'll find that many immortal jades," Wang Lin said after a moment of silence. Qiyi smiled, looked up at the sky, and said, "Good. Little brother, I'm not without reward. Entrusting me with this for 1,000 years, I won't let you help me for nothing." Wang Lin looked at Qiyi, saying nothing. After Qiyi finished speaking, he grabbed downwards, and the still collapsed palace on the ground instantly shattered. The pile of immortal jade slowly rose. Countless blocks of immortal jade formed a pagoda in midair. Finally, Qiyi glanced at the corpse of his wife in his arms, then threw it towards the pagoda. As the corpse disappeared inside the pagoda, Qiyi's right hand swung up, and the pagoda instantly shrunk, flying towards Wang Lin and falling into his hand. The moment he grasped the pagoda, a strange power flowed into Wang Lin's body, forming a mark on his nascent soul. Now, the pagoda contains my peak-level cultivation realm. Find a cold, dark place and take this pagoda out. Within a 100-mile radius of the pagoda, unless someone has a higher cultivation level than me now, no one can enter that 100-mile radius without your permission." Qiyi smiled at Wang Lin, then pointed his right hand at his forehead. Immediately, a fingernail-sized red gem flew out from his forehead and shot towards Wang Lin. As soon as the gem appeared, the small fragments in the area froze, as if time had stopped. From within the gem, an ancient heavenly Tao emanated. The moment Wang Lin saw the gem, he seemed to sense an unimaginable force of the cyclical laws of heaven and earth, similar to the one he experienced during his nascent soul cultivation. He couldn't help but take a deep breath. "This is the first gift I give you, the star of the peak-seeking realm. You can't use this now. But if one day you reach the peak-seeking realm, it will be of great help to you." The old man from the Yin sect stared at the gem, his face showing intense longing. He understood its value very well. Although it possessed no divine abilities, if a cultivator sensed the heavenly Tao and, at the final moment of reaching the peak-seeking realm, it would transform into this object in the heavens and earth. If he could successfully obtain it, his chances of advancing to the peak-seeking realm would immediately increase by 30%. A cultivator who possessed this would have an extra option when facing life and death during the breakthrough to the peak-seeking realm. If a peak-seeking realm cultivator lost it, their cultivation would regress forever until death. Calling it a life-threatening treasure wouldn't be wrong, and Qiyi had only just managed to condense it. Shathu stared blankly at the star of the peak. As the young clan leader of the giant demon tribe, he possessed vast knowledge, and a single glance was enough for him to recognize it. He immediately felt immense regret. Although he had guessed that Chi wouldn't let someone else take care of his wife for free, he hadn't expected Chi to give away such a crucial treasure. If he had known, he would have agreed without hesitation. Moreover, judging from Chi's words, this was merely the first gift. There was a high probability of a second and third. Shathu's regret reached its peak. Chi noticed Shathu's expression, and a haughty smile instantly appeared on his lips. His right hand pointed at the old man from the yin sect, and the man's body immediately lost control and flew up, then was seized by Chi. The second gift I give you is this man. The great elder of the yin sect, I can spare your life, but you must be my servant for 10,000 years. Do you agree? Chi said calmly. The great elder of the yin sect was absolutely powerless against Chi. Now, he only had two choices, life or death. My lifespan isn't even 1,000 years. How can I be your servant? Just kill me, the old man said miserably. If you want to die, I will grant your wish. With my remaining magical power, I can turn you into a puppet. Although my cultivation will be slightly lowered, it can still be considered a second gift. Chi raised his right hand and pointed towards the old man's forehead. Just a single point would instantly reduce the grand elder of the yin sect to dust. The fingertip slowly moved closer, sweat pouring down the old man's forehead. The specter of death had magnified enormously. Although he said his lifespan wouldn't reach 1,000 years, if his cultivation could break through to the late stage of the nascent soul realm, his lifespan would undoubtedly increase significantly. Moreover, with the secret techniques of the yin sect, even if his lifespan wasn't sufficient, there were many ways to survive. The moment the fingertip touched him, the old man painfully said, I agree. Chi's right hand didn't stop, moving even faster, touching the old man's forehead. At the same time, his other arm pointed towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin's body involuntarily flew straight forward. A strange light flashed from the old man's forehead, entering Chi's body. Then it flew from his other arm to Wang Lin's forehead and disappeared. Wang Lin immediately sensed all the thoughts of the elder of the yin sect. He could perceive them instantly if he wished. Even a slight movement of his mind could shatter this person's nascent soul. The great elder of the yin sect sighed inwardly, looking somewhat awkwardly at Wang Lin, respectfully saying, Old servant Sun Tai greets master. A wave of unbearable pain surged through him. Shathu stared at the scene, filled with regret. Regretting his hesitation, Chi's body was now burning to its last, gradually losing its solid form and becoming chaotic. He gazed wistfully around, finally looking at Wang Lin and softly saying, Take good care of her. Wang Lin took a deep breath and nodded vigorously. The scene before him had changed so rapidly. He still couldn't quite believe he had achieved such a result. Chi nodded at Wang Lin, smiling. His body began to disintegrate from his feet. However, a smile still lingered on his face. Master, if there is a next life, I still want to be your disciple. At this moment, the pagoda suddenly slipped from Wang Lin's hand, instantly growing larger. Its interior shimmering with white light. The girl's body automatically flew out from within, hovering in midair. A scene that terrified everyone. But Chi's fear had dissipated halfway, showing no surprise, his gaze calm as he looked at the corpse. Dinger, don't act recklessly. Go. You won't die. A strange voice suddenly emanated from the corpse, slowly spreading outwards. At this moment, a series of thunderous explosions erupted from the air. The upper layer of shattered fragments, after the female corpse's words, instantly crumbled into pieces, collapsing with a deafening roar. A continuous barrage of strong winds descended from the sky, carrying with it the deafening sounds of explosions. The girl suddenly opened her eyes. Boom, boom. The moment she opened her eyes, not just one layer shattered, but both layers of the immortal realm below also broke into fragments. Simultaneously, a look of horror appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. Without hesitation, he quickly retreated. He wasn't alone. An expression of disbelief also appeared in Shathu's eyes. Only the Grand Elder of the Yin sect, a glint of light flashing in his eyes, suddenly remembered something and instantly became extremely frightened. The sword of martial arts, unleash. A golden light suddenly flashed from deep within the countless layers of shattered debris. Before the golden light even approached, Wang Lin felt a powerful surge of sword energy directed straight at his face. The female corpse stepped forward, seizing the light. Suddenly, a deafening sword clang echoed, piercing through the void and reaching all the layers of shattered fragments in the immortal realm. The corpse, holding the golden sword, lightly touched Chu Yi's chest. Chu Yi's primordial spirit was immediately sucked into the golden light. You have guarded this king for over 2,000 years? You are a meritorious person. I appoint you as the sword-slaying soul. After cultivating for 10,000 years, your name will be listed among the immortal venerables. She turned her head, coldly looking at Wang Lin and his group, finally settling her gaze on Wang Lin. Then, with a gentle touch of her jade-like hand, the pagoda instantly shrunk and flew towards Wang Lin. Her body moved slightly, and the golden light in her hand transformed into a golden dragon tens of thousands of feet long. With a roar, it carried her through the crack in the sky towards the void. At this moment, all the cultivators on all the fragmented layers of the immortal realm, regardless of what they were doing, were filled with fear. Even those fighting to the death, upon hearing the sound of the sword, involuntarily stopped. In a central area of the immortal realm, a man in scholarly robes suddenly looked up, his eyes filled with terror as he muttered, "It's the immortal sword of rain. Only the immortal sword of rain could possess such power. I wonder which sword this is." A strange glint appeared in his eyes, his body moved slightly, and he quickly soared into the air. Then he closed his eyes to sense, and his body instantly moved like lightning, flying straight towards the source of the sword sound. In the northwest of the immortal realm, on a small fragment, an old man in a purple robe looked up at the sky, his face showing a look of terror. He pondered for a moment, then without saying much, stomped his foot and soared straight into the air. Is that the immortal sword of the rain? If my great Luo's sword sect could obtain it, its strength would increase several times over. I already have an immortal beast. If I could use it to infuse into the immortal sword, replacing the immortal soul to control the sword, how wonderful that would be. His body soared into the sky. A large, horned kiln immediately appeared in midair. The man jumped onto the kiln's head. 2 streams of white energy shot out from the kiln's nose. In the blink of an eye, as these streams of energy appeared, the surrounding fragments instantly vanished. Cracks appeared in rapid succession. It seemed that in an instant, all 4 sides were engulfed by nothingness. But this had no effect on the old man. The kiln roared, burrowed into the nothingness, and disappeared. Meanwhile, Wang Lin's shattered fragments had collapsed from top to bottom. Shadhu remained stunned, his face showing terror. "Shadhu, star compass!" Wang Lin shouted. Cracks in the sky formed in continuous fragments, most of them turning into nothingness. The nothingness, like a gaping maw, devoured everything in its path. Shadhu immediately snapped back to his senses. Without a word, he took out the star compass from his storage bag and threw it forward. The compass was severely damaged, and as soon as it was taken out, a crack appeared. But now, there was no time to think much. Wang Hu charged straight ahead, leaping into the center. Wang Lin also descended simultaneously, his chosen direction still being east. Sun Tai glanced at the disappearing corpse. Then his body flashed, and he sat down cross-legged beside Wang Lin. The star compass, one of the giant demon clan's most important treasures. It's a pity it's so badly damaged, Sun Tai said calmly. Shadhu smiled bitterly, gritting his teeth as he controlled the compass. It transformed into a bolt of lightning and flew straight into the void. Zheng Niu, the void is extremely dangerous. This compass is too severely damaged to travel far. If you agree to break the seal, I can ensure your safe return to the Vermilion Bird Star. Is that acceptable? Sun Tai's eyes flashed as he stared at Wang Lin. He had just called him master because Qi was there, so he had no choice. Now that Qi was dead, how could he, a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator, willingly become a slave? This was a humiliation worse than death itself. Now he hated Wang Lin so much he wished he could kill him and refine him into a dried corpse. You don't need to rush to answer. I won't let you break the seal for free. I'll give you to late-stage god transformation puppets. With them, your safety will be guaranteed. I can also give you cultivation techniques. Tell me which one you want, and I'll give it to you. Besides, I also have immortal elixirs and divine medicines. As long as you agree to break the seal, I'll agree to everything, Sun Tai said slowly. Wang Lin looked at Sun Tai, his eyes calm, and said, with your cultivation, senior, you certainly wouldn't want to be a servant. I understand that. But as for the method of breaking the seal, let alone not wanting to, even if I wanted to, I couldn't possibly do it immediately. Sun Tai raised his eyebrows and coldly shouted, Junior, do you still think you're the master? Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged. He shook his head and said, that's a gift from Senior Chu, not something I made. Besides, does Senior think I'm a child? I'm afraid that after breaking the seal, the first thing Senior wants to do is kill me. Sun Tai's face darkened as he stared at Wang Lin for a long time. Suddenly, he burst into laughter, though his laughter was extremely cold. Tell me, how do I break the seal? Wang Lin shook his head and smiled, saying, I don't know the method. How can I open it? Sun Tai suddenly stood up straight, looked at Wang Lin, and snarled, Youngster, you refuse the offered wine and want the punishment instead. I, as the Grand Elder of the Vermilion Bird Sect, a cultivator in the nascent soul stage, wouldn't mind being controlled by anyone even in death. Don't even mention a youngster like you. I can kill you with a flick of my finger. Furthermore, don't think that just because you had the intention, I will die. I'm not afraid to tell you. I don't just have 3 souls, but my 4th soul is residing within a corpse in a coffin. You can shatter the primordial spirit within this body of mine, but then my 4th soul will kill you. Wang Lin smiled, his eyes completely calm, and said, according to what Senior said, there's probably another purpose, not just to break the seal. You already know in your heart that I can't open this at all. Sun Tai stared at Wang Lin, scrutinizing him carefully, and said, good. You're truly worthy of being chosen by Zhou Yi. You're exceptionally intelligent. I'll go find the method for the seal. But for now, you must come with me. I must imprison you first. Only then will I be at ease. But you don't need to worry. I swear, after the seal is broken, I will definitely compensate you. Don't worry, I won't let you die. Sun Tai said with a cold laugh, raising his hand and directly grabbing towards Wang Lin. If the slave seal is unstable, the pagoda can restrain it. Just before Zhou Yi vanished, he had transmitted this last message to Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he looked at Sun Tai, not dodging. As Sun Tai's hand reached him, a stream of white light flew out from Wang Lin's storage bag. Immediately afterward, the pagoda appeared, its white light radiating in all directions. Within the white light, a circle of the passionate intent realm of a peak-level cultivator existed. Sun Tai let out a miserable groan and immediately retreated. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. Zhou Yi had only said the pagoda could restrain Sun Tai, but hadn't mentioned that Sun Tai also possessed the 4th soul. The truth of this was still unknown, but for now, he couldn't let the other party see any clues. Thinking this, he took a step forward and grasped the pagoda in his hand. A strange glint appeared in his eyes, and he sneered. Sun Tai, the intent realm on this pagoda, for outsiders, can only hinder progress and has no destructive power. But for you, because Senior Chu secretly intervened, it is indeed a tool to restrain you. Sun Tai's face darkened. The intent realm on the pagoda had inflicted immense damage on him. He knew this was the reason for the sealed servant within his body. He continuously retreated backward. Wang Lin continued to advance. His face was icy cold as he shouted, if it were another sect, perhaps I wouldn't know much. But if it's the Yin sect, I understand it very well. The corpse in the coffin absolutely cannot be your 4th soul. If I'm not mistaken, that corpse is probably the soul of someone else. Even if it really is your 4th soul, it must be a remnant soul. Sun Tai's expression turned grim. In a hoarse voice, he said, if you don't believe me, you can try it once. Wang Lin laughed heartily, his eyes shining brightly. He stepped forward and shouted, Sun Tai, do you think I don't dare try? With Zhou Yi's cultivation, how could he leave behind such an unstable threat like you? With just a thought, you'll surely die. Even with the remnant soul, Senior Zhou has already calculated everything. I just didn't want to kill you because your cultivation hasn't changed. But now you dare to betray your master and seek your own death. Sun Tai's eyes flashed. Although outwardly he showed no expression, a hint of suspicion arose in his heart. That's right. With Zhou Yi's cultivation, how could he leave behind such a threat like this junior? Could it be that Zhou Yi already knew the inside story? Had he calculated all of his schemes? Suntai felt a shiver run down his spine. Suntai, do you remember that before she left, the white-robed girl left a pagoda for me? Didn't you see the meaning behind it? Wang Lin's voice grew louder and clearer. He held the pagoda in his hand and stepped forward with immense power. Suntai was deeply shaken by Wang Lin's words, his heart filled with fear, and he retreated. What does that mean? Suntai's heart was in turmoil, but he didn't show it. Wang Lin laughed heartily, continuing to advance, shouting, "The true meaning, you can find out for yourself. If you still don't understand in the end, then it's your fate to die." Suntai retreated again, this time at an extremely fast pace. After retreating a considerable distance, he said, "Today, I won't hold a grudge against a junior like you. If you want to kill my 3 souls, then go ahead. Let's see how I resist." After saying that, he quickly flew away into the distance, no longer thinking about capturing and imprisoning Wang Lin. Wang Lin stood there, coldly watching Suntai's figure gradually disappear, finally breathing a sigh of relief. Suntai's cultivation was extremely strong. With Wang Lin's personality, he would absolutely accept this kind of servant. Zhou probably never imagined before his death that this Suntai possessed a 4th soul. Even if he really has a 4th soul, if his 3rd soul is destroyed, his cultivation will plummet, and he might even suffer serious injuries. Otherwise, Suntai wouldn't have run away because of my few threats, Wang Lin thought to himself, turning and flying towards Chihu's star compass. Wang Lin knew that the situation just now seemed easy, but in reality, it was very dangerous. If he showed any hesitation, he would surely have been captured. If Suntai can destroy his 4th soul, then he will truly become a servant. Very quickly, Wang Lin flew to the star compass. "Brother Zhang, Suntai is a high-ranking elder of the Yin sect. You need to be more careful in the future." Shadhu witnessed everything that just happened. At this point, Wang Lin already held considerable importance in his heart. As the young clan leader of the giant demon clan, he simply didn't want to make enemies, but only wanted to befriend heroes. Along the way, everything Wang Lin displayed intelligence, steadfastness, and astonishing cultivation made Shadhu eager to befriend him. Wang Lin smiled and said, "It's all right. Senior Ji once sent a message saying that keeping this person alive would be of great use. Otherwise, I would have used the pagoda to destroy his primordial soul and seize his 4th soul, ensuring he couldn't escape his fate." Wang Lin spoke with extreme calmness, his expression unwavering. He knew that although Suntai had gone far away, his consciousness would surely return to investigate. Shadhu was stunned, but didn't ask many questions. He nodded and concentrated his mind on controlling the star compass, disappearing into the void. Not long after the two disappeared, Suntai appeared. His eyes were deep and thoughtful, staring intently in the direction Wang Lin had vanished, his expression a mixture of joy and sorrow. According to this young man's words, while not entirely true, it's probably 8 parts true. Otherwise, with his early-stage nascent soul cultivation, he wouldn't be able to face me so calmly without any backing. Humph, he said he didn't want to easily destroy my nascent soul. It turns out Zhou Yi had already secretly told me I have great value. What exactly does he want? Suntai remained silent for a long time before his body moved slightly, flying forward. Why bother finding out the reason? This young man is neither killable nor capturable. He's truly troublesome. If we provoke him into anger, he'll disregard Chiyi's words and destroy my primordial spirit. Although I still possess 4 souls, these 4 souls are not yet fully mature. Once my primordial spirit is destroyed, not only will my cultivation level decrease, but my lifespan will also be shortened. He sighed, his heart filled with anger. Wang Lin and Qi, who were on the star compass, moving at an extremely fast speed. After several hours, the cracks on the compass multiplied, seemingly nearing its limit of endurance. Finally, the star compass stopped in the void, unable to go any further. Wang Lin remained calm, not saying a word. "Brother Zhang, the star compass is unusable. We can only fly away ourselves. However, the void is too dangerous, alas." Chihu flew up from the star compass, his face full of distress. Wang Lin glanced at the star compass and said, "Brother Chihu, did you only bring 1 star compass with you?" "Brother Zhang, the star compass is a treasure. There aren't many on Vermilion Bird Star. Our giant demon clan only has 1 left, which we used to travel to Vermilion Bird Star many years ago. Unfortunately, it's broken in my hands. When I return to the clan, I'm afraid I'll be punished with seclusion again, Shat-Hu said with a bitter smile. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged, and he smiled, saying, "Brother Shat-Hu, we haven't known each other for long, but we've been through hardships together. I won't lie to you. I can repair the star compass." Shat-Hu was stunned, his eyes immediately brightening. He was suffering because he didn't have a compass. Not only was his flying speed slow and he lacked direction, but he didn't know when he would be able to leave this void. Moreover, this place was particularly strange. A slight mistake could lead to encountering some extremely difficult creatures. "Brother Zhang, if you can repair the star compass, we'll definitely be able to leave this void safely." Shat-Hu didn't ask Zhang Niu why he was able to repair this extremely rare star compass. He knew everyone had their own secrets. If they didn't want to talk about them, asking would be rude. Wang Lin smiled, calmly looking at Shat-Hu. Shat-Hu immediately understood and sincerely said, "Brother Zhang, I certainly won't let you repair it for free. If you have any requests, please don't hesitate to ask." Wang Lin shook his head and said, "Repairing the star compass requires many precious materials. Moreover, once it's refined, it consumes a lot of spiritual power. Therefore, if the repair is successful, the star compass will become my property." "I hope Brother Shat-Hu will forgive me." Shat-Hu's expression didn't change, only slightly darkened. The star compass was an important treasure of his clan. Although it was now damaged, giving it away to someone else would inevitably make him feel reluctant. "If Brother Shat-Hu feels uncomfortable, I will also repair it for you, out of friendship with Brother Shat-Hu," Wang Lin said with a gentle smile. Shat-Hu looked up at Wang Lin, laughed heartily, and said, "Brother Zhang, is that true?" "Absolutely true. However, I must also use this star compass. Don't refuse me when I borrow it later," Wang Lin said with a smile. Shat-Hu looked at Wang Lin, secretly wondering if the other party's words were true or false. But very quickly, he burst into laughter. There was no need to speculate whether it was true or false. The meaning was the same. If Zhang Niu wanted to force me or harbored thoughts of murder and robbery, he would eventually obtain the compass from me. Even if I gave him the compass, I wouldn't be happy. If I didn't die, I would certainly seek revenge with all my might later. But now this person has said this, showing great sincerity, truly a friend of mine. Moreover, Zhang Niu's cultivation is incredibly powerful. He even possesses Zhouyi's peak-seeking star. Among those of my generation, Zhang Niu has a very good chance of reaching the peak-seeking realm. Now, befriending him could be of great help to our clan in the future. Thinking this, he said with emotion, "Brother Zhang, you have treated me, Chi-Hu, as a friend, so how could I be stingy, the star compass? If you ever want to borrow it in the future, given the temperament of the old geezers in my clan, they absolutely won't lend it easily. Today, I'll just give it to you." Wang Lin chuckled, clasped his hands and said, "Thank you." Chi-Hu didn't say much, waved his right hand and produced the star compass. Then he erased the mark on it, and without hesitation, handed it to Wang Lin, smiling. "Brother Zhang, this star compass belongs to you now." Wang Lin said, "I still need Brother Chi-Hu's protection. Now I will begin the refining process." "You want me to protect you?" Chi-Hu's eyes narrowed, and he looked at Wang Lin intently. After a long while, he nodded and said, "Brother Zhang, I, Chi-Hu, truly consider you a friend. Rest assured." Wang Lin didn't say much, sitting cross-legged in the void, his right hand patting his storage bag, taking out the golden stone. He continuously formed hand seals, refining the liquid golden stone. His expression was calm. Many wandering souls flew out from his forehead. These wandering souls were invisible to outsiders. If Chi-Hu suddenly attacked, he would certainly be stopped by the flying souls. After more than 400 years of killing, Wang Lin didn't easily trust anyone. After a long while, the golden liquid gradually condensed into droplets in front of Wang Lin, emitting rays of light into colors, yellow and purple, intertwining beautifully. Without the star compass, starting from scratch would require a lot of materials. Although this star compass was severely damaged, it was much easier than creating a new one. Wang Lin's right hand touched the liquid, allowing it to mix with the star compass. Then he quickly formed hand seals, using the method from the ancient god's memory, and began refining. The symbols drawn on the compass gradually became more and more luminous. After a while, more and more symbols lit up. Finally, they flickered at a very rapid pace. Chihu's expression remained serious. His divine consciousness spread out, maintaining a vigilant vigilance within a radius of 100 yards. He didn't dare extend his divine consciousness too far, as there were many dangerous things in the void. If his consciousness spread too far, it would be like a lamp in the darkness, making him a target for dangerous creatures. Shadhu didn't even look at Wang Lin's hand gestures and seals. His consciousness automatically swept within a 20-jung radius around Wang Lin. Zheng Yu is such a wise man, yet he trusts me. Shadhu, I am a man of great stature. How could I betray him? Moreover, the star of the peak was given to him by Zhou Yi, and it must have a forbidden enchantment. If I seize it, it will cause great trouble later. The Zhang family has many powerful experts. I cannot bring disaster upon my clan. Furthermore, most importantly, even if I use all the clan's most important treasures, I only have a 50% chance of winning against this person. Therefore, it's better not to act. At this moment, Sun Tai, from afar, spotted the two, his eyes brightening. I didn't expect Zhang Niu to be able to repair the star compass. This is absolutely not simple. If I act now, I'm 70% sure I can imprison him before he can even activate his thoughts. But once I act, if I'm not 100% sure and something goes wrong, it will be more harm than good, a difficult situation, too difficult. This servant seal is also too overbearing. Just a slight movement of my mind can destroy my primordial spirit. It really makes me hesitant to take the gamble. Hesitancy appeared in his eyes. After a long while, he sighed inwardly, not daring to take the risk. The third soul is his true soul. Unless absolutely necessary, he cannot afford to be careless. After a few days, the star compass before Wang Lin shone brightly. All the ancient symbols lit up, then finally dimmed. Wang Lin opened his eyes, causing Chihu to immediately notice and turn to ask, "Brother Zhang, is it finished?" Unfortunately, the materials are insufficient. Only the damaged parts can be repaired. The star compass hasn't been fully refined yet, and it lacks shattered star iron. Without this material, the compass will have no offensive power. No wonder it's called the star compass. On the other hand, the chipped corner also needs another type of material to repair. Even so, using it wouldn't be a problem. Wang Lin sighed inwardly. Hearing Chihu's question, Wang Lin nodded and smiled, saying, "Leaving this void region is no problem." Chihu immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Many days ago, he had repeatedly seen some strange creatures hovering in all directions. Sometimes they would turn away upon seeing him, but other times they showed interest. Although he was ultimately only frightened and not in danger, he never wanted to encounter them again. Wang Lin pointed his right hand at the star compass, and it immediately expanded to twice its previous size. Wang Lin stirred slightly, then sat cross-legged in the center. Shadhu's eyes lit up. He looked at it with interest several times, then sat cross-legged in the eastern corner. His own consciousness was now within the compass, so after Wang Lin sat down, a feeling of harmony suddenly arose. It seemed as if the star compass had become a part of his body. As soon as his consciousness moved, the star compass rotated, its speed several times faster than before, then suddenly disappeared from the spot. Brother Zhang is truly amazing. The speed of the compass is much faster than before. Shadhu transmitted a wisp of consciousness. Brother Shadhu, after I modified this compass, you don't need to control it. Just sit down and rest. I can handle it myself. Wang Lin said. In the void, a gray light flashed and disappeared. It sped past the strange creatures at an extremely fast speed. If it encountered any dangerous creatures, Wang Lin would immediately fly around to avoid them. At first, controlling the compass felt a little stiff for Wang Lin. But after flying for a while, Wang Lin became extremely proficient. Controlling the compass was like flying himself. Its speed, even with Wang Lin exerting all his strength, couldn't match. Only continuous teleportation could rival the speed of the star compass. This thing is indeed a treasure. Just by its speed, even a nascent soul cultivator would find it difficult to catch up. Wang Lin felt overjoyed. He thought to himself that this journey in the immortal realm had started empty-handed but returned with a much greater harvest than he had imagined. The star compass, the war god chariot if you include the immortal jade pagoda, it was truly a great gain. In addition, there was a nascent soul cultivator servant who always wanted to betray him. At this moment, somewhere in the many shattered areas of the immortal realm, a piece of land that hadn't been severely destroyed could still vaguely discern the shape of the immortal realm of yesteryear. Grass and plants swayed on the ground, and in the distance, mountain peaks were shrouded in clouds, resembling a celestial paradise. At this moment, a stunningly beautiful woman in white silently appeared in midair. She stood atop a golden dragon. From the dragon's body emanated waves of fierce sword energy, but on the golden dragon's forehead, a purple mist hung, revealing the helpless face of Chi. If the immortal realm still existed, immersing yourself in the immortal cleansing pool would allow you to restore your primordial spirit as long as it wasn't destroyed. But now the immortal cleansing pool has disappeared. If you want to restore your primordial spirit, you can only do so with the immortal sword of rain, but that will take too long. Dinger, why do you have to do this? The immortal tear accumulated over so many years. Do you want to squander it all? From within the mist surrounding the golden dragon's forehead, a reluctant voice emerged. You are the immortal venerable I have bestowed the title upon. If I don't want you to die, you cannot die. Furthermore, I am not Dinger. The girl in white spoke calmly and slowly. A pained expression appeared on Chi-Yi's face. After a long while, he softly said, "That's right. You are not Dinger. I remember everything. You are not Dinger. Then let me leave this place. I am already dead." The girl in white remained silent for a long time before slowly saying, "But this name, Dinger, I like it very much." Chi-Yi was stunned, his eyes showing joy, and he softly said, "Dinger." "Yes." The girl in white remained silent for a moment, then spoke again. Then she raised her delicate arm and gently pressed it down on the piece of celestial realm below, uttering a few clear incantations. Immediately, the ground shook violently, and numerous cracks appeared. Streams of golden light suddenly shot up from the ground. Immediately afterward, all the golden rays converged into a single point. The ground beneath instantly shattered, and a sudden sword clang echoed from deep within the earth, piercing through the heavens and earth, shaking everything in the immortal realm. The golden dragon at the feet of the white-robed woman was affected by the sword clang, immediately raising its head and roaring. Suddenly, from deep within the earth, amidst the sword clang, a growl also resounded. The two swords of martial arts. Unleash. Boom! The ground shattered into pieces, and a golden dragon rushed out like a whirlwind. The ground collapsed with a thunderous roar and sank into the void. The golden dragon appeared and immediately merged with the golden dragon at the feet of the white-robed woman. Both sides continuously growled, revealing a joyful expression as if they hadn't seen each other for many years. At this moment, in a very distant void, the old man in the green robe of the Great Luo Sword Sect, sitting on the back of a kiln, his eyes, which had been tightly closed, suddenly opened, and two flashes of lightning appeared in his gaze. The moment the old man opened his eyes, several powerful, translucent creatures standing in the void before him immediately roared and fled in terror. Another martial sword. The martial immortal sword has a total of 5 swords. One was destroyed back then, leaving 4. 2 of those 4 have appeared. I wonder if it can trigger the sword soul to destroy everything like before. If it can be activated, then wherever there is a sword soul in this immortal realm, 10,000 swords will appear. The old man's lips twitched, a smile spreading across his face. He gently patted the killing beast below, muttering, "If there were still immortals like before, with my cultivation level, I wouldn't be able to seize the martial sword. But now..." His eyes flickered, and the killing beast below moved even faster. Before long, the old man's expression brightened again. Activated. The catastrophe of the immortal realm that year severely damaged the sword soul, forcing it to merge with countless immortal swords, becoming a remnant soul. Today, Chi, I, the king, appoint you as the sword soul, to condense once more. Sword soul, emerge! The 2 golden dragons beneath the white-robed woman's feet roared and merged together. In the dazzling golden light, the woman's hands formed the treasure vase seal, and her lips moved slightly. In an instant, the sound from her mouth echoed throughout the immortal realm. On all the fragments of the immortal realm, whether there were people or not, everything trembled. The ground shook, but did not collapse. The air vibrated, but did not crack. A group of immortal swords rose from the ground into the air, condensing into the shape of a flying sword. A clear, ringing sound of a sword echoed. Starting from one fragment, a group of immortal swords flew out, followed by other fragments in the same manner. Almost instantly, the clang of swords emanated from every fragment of the immortal realm, shaking the heavens and earth. At this moment, the entire immortal realm was filled with only one sound. That was the sound of a sword ringing. A disciple of the Great Luo sword sect was using his treasured sword to seize a treasure. As his sword struck, he saw the terror in his opponent's eyes and sneered coldly. But the smile that had just appeared on his lips instantly vanished. The sound of swords ringing echoed from all directions. His treasured sword, which he had just swung, suddenly cracked with a few popping sounds as it came down. The cracks widened, and the treasured sword shattered. Among the other fragments, a cultivator was flying on his sword. The moment everyone heard the sound of swords ringing in the sky, the sword beneath his feet instantly shattered. A middle-aged woman had just descended from a vortex onto a fragment somewhere. The moment she landed, she heard the sound of swords ringing in the heavens and felt a sense of dread. Thinking some ferocious creature had appeared, she instinctively patted her storage bag and took out a 7-colored flying sword. This flying sword was a treasure of the sect, but the moment it left the storage bag, it shattered instantly. At this moment, any cultivator searching for immortal artifacts in the immortal realm, regardless of their cultivation level, would inevitably shatter if a flying sword was near them. The sword shattered because it felt defiled. The sword shattered because it sacrificed its soul. The sword shattered because it went mad. The immortal sword of rain had obtained a new soul, which was Qi. The sword of rain's soul returned to the immortal realm once again. 10,000 swords shattered, 10,000 swords resonated, 10,000 swords merged. Immortal swords emerged from the fragments, or immortal swords buried deep in the earth all emerged. All, heading in the same direction, flew away simultaneously. Anyone who stood in their way, they were killed. Those who stood in their way were killed. Those who blocked the earth were shattered. Those who obstructed the sky were destroyed. And those who obstructed the beasts were annihilated. In the void, there was a middle-aged scholar. This person was moving stealthily in the darkness, causing any strange beast that saw him to steer clear and not dare approach. Just then, he suddenly heard the sound of a sword ringing in the air, and his expression changed slightly. Activate! At that moment, streaks of sword light suddenly flew from afar. Even the highly skilled middle-aged scholar couldn't help but retreat. His body flashed, disappearing from the spot. After the sword light vanished, his eyes flickered, and he immediately pursued. Just follow the sword light, and I can find the immortal sword of martial arts. He wasn't the only one with this thought. At this moment, in all the fragments of the immortal realm, all the cultivators simultaneously chased after the sword light. They wanted to know what kind of magical artifact had appeared that caused the sword to become so frenzied. Wang Lin, who was on the compass, stopped instantly upon hearing the sword ringing. Shadhu's expression changed, and he said in a low voice, rather saying, "I'm afraid something big has happened." Before he could finish speaking, he saw a series of sword lights appear in the distance, and an unimaginable number of them rushing towards him with a resounding clang. They're all sword immortals. Shadhu focused his gaze, then immediately choked out. The sword immortals moved at incredible speed, instantly reaching his side. Wang Lin took a deep breath, immediately controlling the star compass to quickly dodge to the side, letting the sword immortals whiz past. What's happening? Wang Lin felt a sense of dread. Brother Zhang, look over there. It's sword immortals again. Shadhu's face was filled with fear as he pointed to a spot. He saw that many sword lights had appeared there, flying in the same direction as the sword immortals had just passed. He inwardly groaned, but his eyes showed excitement. Just then, another part of the sword swarm shrieked in the distance, flying past. However, it wasn't close enough for them, so they only caught a glimpse before fully restraining the 3 immortal swords. But these 3 immortal swords immediately emitted a fierce sword cry, and the distant sword swarm suddenly stopped, unexpectedly turning around and instantly advancing towards them. Their faces changed drastically, and the old man immediately let go, abandoning the restraint of the immortal swords and fleeing for his life. The already unstable restriction, now unsupported, instantly shattered. The sword swarm flew intertwined, blood and flesh flying everywhere. Not long after the sword swarm departed, those people, including the old man who fled first, all perished. A dark light flashed beside them, two of their storage bags, and touched by the sword energy and, still intact, vanished in a flash. A distance away, the dark light transformed into a huge compass. Shadhu, holding two storage bags in his hands, set them aside and said with a smile, "Brother Zhang, this is the 37th storage bag. We've harvested quite a bit along the way." Wang Lin chuckled softly. Along the way, the two of them had seen many cultivators attempting to subdue the sword immortal, but none had succeeded. They had all perished. Some of these storage bags had been destroyed by sword energy, while others remained intact and complete, falling into their hands. The star compass carried the two of them at an extremely fast speed, even faster than the sword immortal. Wang Lin noticed this unusual speed and immediately followed closely. His speed was naturally greater, so he wasn't afraid of being chased. He always maintained the lead and seized opportunities along the way to gain something, which excited Chi-Hu somewhat. As they traveled, Wang Lin controlled the compass while Chi-Hu snatched the storage bags. Their coordination was incredibly smooth. In addition, they encountered a few cultivators who recognized their star compass and tried to steal it. With Wang Lin and Chi-Hu working together, anyone who tried to seize the compass had only one path: death. At this moment, the two of them transformed into streaks of light and flew swiftly, quickly catching up with the group of swords ahead, maintaining a considerable distance behind. Just then, a middle-aged man with a gloomy expression, stepping on a circular disc, relentlessly pursued the group of sword immortals. Suddenly, his eyes caught sight of the star compass beneath Wang Lin and Chi-Hu in the distance. His eyes flashed, and with a stomp of his foot, the disc disappeared. He advanced towards Wang Lin and Chi-Hu. "To fellow Taoists, could you make room for me?" Although his tone was polite, his footsteps were rough. Late stage of the god transformation realm. Chi-Hu's eyes flickered, and he lowered his voice. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as he smiled and said, "Fight or flee, Brother Shadhu, give me your word." Wang Lin hasn't fully unleashed the speed of the compass yet. Once he does, escaping from a late-stage nascent soul cultivator will be easy. Shadhu laughed heartily, his whole body powerfully standing up, his hand clenched as he said, "Brother Zhang, you're only in the early nascent soul stage and you dare to fight Hongai. I, Shadhu, in the middle nascent soul stage, also want to fight this late-stage nascent soul cultivator. After I finish my fight, we can continue our escape." Having said that, he stomped his foot and flew out of the star compass, shouting, "If you want to steal the compass, you'll have to show me your strength." The middle-aged man's face remained gloomy, his eyes revealing a hint of disdain. His body not only didn't stop, but moved even faster, saying, "So you're from the giant clan? Come here." After saying that, he casually pointed his left hand forward. Whoosh! A gray stream of energy shot towards Chi-Hu like an arrow, and the moment the gray energy appeared, a wave of killing intent enveloped the surroundings. Killing intent, Wang Lin's eyes flashed as he instantly recognized the opponent's intent. The level of killing intent was indeed very intense. Besides his own body, Wang Lin hadn't seen many people with such a level. Killing intent, Chi-Hu roared, clenching his hands in front of him and striking fiercely. Immediately, a surge of arrogant energy erupted from Chi-Hu, enveloping his entire body with a series of cracking sounds. He suddenly expanded several times, transforming into a giant several meters tall, the hammer-shaped mark on his forehead flashing unusually. This hammer was a treasure of the clan, a powerful artifact with a function far different from the star compass. This object is not a physical entity. Previously, it was seized by Qi and then shattered by Hong Dai during battle. It can be reformed, but each time its power is diminished. The hammer materialized, and Shadhu held it in his hand. He then stepped forward like a demon god, striking the gray mist with a single blow. Bang! The gray mist crumbled, the hammer in Shadhu's hand trembled slightly, and he recoiled several meters, veins bulging on his body. He laughed loudly, saying, "So satisfying, come on." The middle-aged man's eyes flashed, his body stopped, and he coldly potted his storage bag. Immediately, a crystal flew out. He touched the crystal with his right hand, and it instantly melted into a liquid. He then stroked the liquid, and it instantly transformed into a rhombus. He swung it forward, shouting, "Try to withstand this." The moment he saw this crystal, Shadhu's entire body went cold. All sorts of murderous thoughts erupted in his mind, almost causing him to lose his composure, his heart pounding. Wang Lin's gaze immediately focused on the crystal, and he flew over, saying, "Shathu, let's go." Shathu laughed heartily and without a word turned and stepped onto the compass, muttering, "I can't beat you. I'm not playing anymore." The middle-aged man's lips curled into a cold smile. He pointed his right hand, and the rhombus-shaped crystal sped up, emitting a wailing sound as it hurtled towards the compass. Wang Lin's divine sense moved, and the compass instantly flashed and flew away into the distance. Although the crystal was fast, it couldn't compare to the compass. The middle-aged man's expression changed, and he immediately flew over to grab the crystal, giving chase. After a long while, the middle-aged man's eyes flashed, and he stopped, staring intently at the disappearing star compass, letting out a soft snort. My master calculated that the emergence of the sword immortal of the martial arts would give the Great Luo sword sect a chance to possess it. So he instructed me to do everything in my power to prevent the balance of power in the heavenly fortune star from being disrupted. Otherwise, I would have had a little fun with these two younglings. Humph, the Great Luo sword sect, although on the same level as my heavenly fortune sect, as long as Master Tai Yanzi takes action. What need is there to even consider them? He coldly glanced into the distance, then turned and left. That youngling on the compass, judging by his expression, must recognize what the star stone is. He seems to have some knowledge. Brother Zheng, what is that rhombus-shaped star stone? Why did you advise me not to fight? Although that person is in the late stage of the god transformation realm, my giant demon clan has extraordinary talent. Although I can't defeat him, I'm not afraid. Shathu asked, sitting cross-legged on the compass. Wang Lin, while controlling the star compass, said, "Killing people can condense killing intent. A lot of killing intent will turn into streams of killing intent. Intense killing intent becomes liquid, and excessively concentrated killing intent becomes essence. If you don't cultivate the killing intent realm, even a slight contact with this blood essence killing intent will inevitably injure your primordial spirit." Shathu remained silent, recalling the appearance of that crystal earlier. His heart was indeed shaken, and he nodded. That middle-aged man's cultivation must be stronger than Hong Dai's, especially his killing intent. Even Han Dai would have to struggle to withstand it. If I were here, could I withstand this killing intent crystal? I don't know how much spiritual power I'll need to undergo my third transformation. This time returning to the Vermilion Bird Star, I have the Immortal Jade, which is an immortal artifact used for breathing exercises that can accelerate my cultivation. Wang Lin thought to himself. The compass moved at an incredibly fast speed, circling a great distance before gradually approaching from the outside, closely following the group of sword immortals. A small fragment of the immortal realm appeared in the void ahead. From this fragment emanated a dense sword energy, like a radiance shooting out thousands of feet, making anyone who approached feel as if they were being burned. Countless sword immortals roared and rushed forward. This was indeed the dwelling place of the sword soul of the martial arts. These sword immortals combined into streaks of sword light, flying rapidly towards him. Wang Lin, on the compass, followed the sword light straight into this void, instantly entering the small fragment. It's her. Wang Lin's first glance fell upon a girl in a white dress with long, flowing hair in the distance, accompanied by two golden dragons. Shathu also spotted the girl in white, his eyes immediately showing fear, remaining silent. At this moment, Wang Lin retracted his compass and hovered in midair. The two golden dragons roared furiously, and fragments of immortal swords flew rapidly from within the void towards them. Gradually, more and more immortal swords flew in. These immortal swords flew in unison, intertwining and supporting each other, unexpectedly forming the shape of a golden dragon. 3 golden dragons circled around the girl, a huge dragon eye emerging, its cold, gloomy gaze sweeping in all directions. At this moment, an endless swarm of sword immortals seemed to fly in from the void. Soon after, more than 100 people followed closely behind the swarm of sword immortals from all directions. These people also possessed considerable speed, chasing after the swarm of swords. As the sword immortals continued to fly in, the number of cultivators increased. In their eyes, a greedy glint appeared, their gazes fixed on the golden dragon swirling around the girl in white. However, those who could enter this immortal realm were all outstanding individuals from various cultivation planets, possessing naturally strong mental control. Although greed arose in their hearts, no one dared to act first. Stop, withdraw your hand. There are already 3 swords. That's enough. A faint sound emanated from the center of a golden dragon's forehead. The girl in white remained calm, slowly saying, "It's still not enough. Wait a little longer." The 4th flying sword is almost complete. As soon as she finished speaking, the illusory image of the 4th golden dragon slowly appeared, following the continuously advancing flying sword, though it hadn't yet solidified. However, after a while of integrating the immortal sword, its speed of solidification increased. At this moment, a deafening roar suddenly erupted from within the void, a roar filled with arrogance and defiance. The eyes of the 3 golden dragons immediately focused intently on the east. A massive fireball was seen hurtling towards them. Before the fireball even arrived, the heat wave attacked the cultivators standing nearby. Their faces changed drastically, and they hastily retreated, creating a path. They had barely dodged when a fireball suddenly burst forth from the void, exploding in midair above this small area and scattering sparks in all directions. At the center of the exploding fireball, a unicorn-like creature, its entire body emitting a towering blue flame, stood in midair. The creature had a large snout, spewing out 2 streams of white gas, its eyes like lightning staring at the 3 golden dragons. This is a unicorn-like immortal beast. It's the guardian spirit beast of the Great Luo's Sword Sect. This beast belongs to Sword Venerable Ling Jianhu. This old monster has arrived. What kind of treasure could possibly make the old man Ling Jianhu come in person? Some knowledgeable individuals were instantly shaken, secretly speculating. Those with less composure naturally retreated several meters, crying out in alarm. Wang Lin stared intently at the killing immortal beast. He immediately noticed a figure sitting cross-legged on the beast's enormous head. This person wore a green robe, their long, flowing white hair fluttering in the windless air. Though thin and frail, they exuded an aura of divine power, especially the 4 illusory sword images flashing behind them. Each time these sword images flashed, Wang Lin's heart pounded. Bang, bang. After 2 loud bangs, Wang Lin's face turned pale, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. He hastily averted his gaze. At that moment, Chi Hu spat out a large mouthful of blood, his expression one of terror. Not only these 2, but many cultivators around him also had blood trickling from the corners of their mouths, their eyes filled with disbelief and horror. Humph, the Great Luo's Sword Sect's Sword Venerable. How can we possibly compare? This person's cultivation is truly extraordinary. The 4 sword shadows behind it were the life-bound magical treasures, capable of transforming into thousands upon thousands, endlessly reproducing. If one's cultivation was insufficient, a mere glance would cause instant injury. If one stubbornly forced their way through, even death wouldn't be surprising. A few knowledgeable people, upon seeing the killing appear, immediately bowed their heads, inwardly sneering. Wang Lin took a deep breath, quickly patted his storage bag, and the Forbidden's banner appeared in his hand. He waved it downwards, enveloping his body in a black mist. He took out several pills, quickly swallowed them, and a rosy blush appeared on his face. After the killing appeared, it spat out 2 streams of dragon energy, and its hind legs casually kicked forward. At this moment, the old man in green robes sitting cross-legged on the killin's head began to open his eyes, staring intently at the girl in white, his face showing a solemn expression. "Are you an immortal?" The old man's eyes were gloomy as he slowly asked. As soon as these words were spoken, the surrounding cultivators immediately erupted in a commotion, but almost instantly everyone fell silent, their eyes fixed on the girl in white. The girl in white glanced at the old man and calmly said, "Step back." The old man's eyes flashed, and he burst into angry laughter. As one of the top 2 figures on the heavenly fortune star, no one had dared speak to him like that for countless years. Humph, the immortal realm is collapsing. Even if you are truly an immortal and fortunate enough to survive, I must intervene. As soon as the old man said this, the killing beast beneath him began to roar. The girl in white's expression was indifferent, but there was a hint of melancholy. Instead of looking at the old man, she looked at the killing beast and softly said, "This wretched creature, even your ancestors wouldn't dare act like this before me. Could it be that the immortal realm has been shattered, and even your inherited memories are gone?" The killing beast's eyes showed a bewildered expression. The old man in green robe's eyes darkened, and a black light immediately enveloped the killing beast's head with his right hand. Under this grasp, the bewilderment in the killing beast's eyes instantly vanished, replaced by ferocity, and it roared again. The girl in white gently shook her head, lowering her voice. It seems that without a beating, I can't rekindle this beast's inheritance. After saying this, she raised her hand and pointed at the Killen. The Killen immediately retreated, the ferocity in its eyes disappearing, replaced by a trembling fear. The old man on its head immediately fell off. The Killen beast cried out and prostrated itself on the ground, its whole body shaking. The old man in the green robe was suspended in midair, his face showing doubt. Do you think that just because the immortal realm no longer exists, I can't punish you? The girl in the white robe sighed softly, her delicate hand not stopping but continuing to point at the old man in the green robe. This point, once unleashed, instantly shook the heavens and earth. The old man in the green robe's face turned pale, his body immediately retreated, and at the same time, he pointed his hands down, causing for sword-like images behind him to fly out and block in front of him. Bang! 2 explosions rang out, and 2 sword images instantly shattered. The old man in the green robe's face changed drastically. Without a word, he turned and walked away, his speed incredibly fast, instantly disappearing from his spot and reappearing far away in the void. Beside the girl in the white robe, the 4th golden dragon's phantom became even more solid. This was clearly the final moment. She's no ordinary immortal. She calls herself this lord. Could she be an immortal lord? The old man in the green robe was even more terrified. A single gesture had destroyed 2 of his sword image avatars. Even Cha Yunzi couldn't do that, so how could he not be afraid? Well, at most, I won't get the sword immortal today, no. The old man in the green robe paused, a thoughtful expression on his face, and glanced back at the small patch in the distance. If it were an immortal lord, my transgression against her, according to the laws of the immortal realm back then, would be a grave crime punishable by the destruction of my primordial spirit. But she hasn't killed me yet. I understand now, this person doesn't not want to kill me, but rather wants to scare me away. The old man in the green robe's eyes suddenly flashed, and without a word, he turned and flew towards the small fragment. At this moment, while he was flying in midair, 2 sword shadows instantly appeared behind him. In front of him, the illusory sword shadows multiplied from 2 to 4, then 4 to 8, and almost in the blink of an eye, more than 100 sword shadows appeared before him. Quickly turn around. In an instant, he had returned to the small fragment. Inside this fragment, the cultivators all around, seeing that under the attack of the girl in white, even a sword venerable couldn't withstand it, fled in fear. These people naturally understood that there was no possibility of collecting the sword immortal today, so they all quietly retreated, preparing to leave this place. But at this moment, the old man in green returned. The girl in white had the same expression as before, her eyes like a calm lake without a ripple. She tilted her head and glanced at the forehead of the golden dragon beside her, sighed softly, and took a step forward to meet the old man in green who was shouting as he approached. Immortal Lord, I want to have a chance to see what the strength of the immortal is really like. The old man in green shouted loudly, the sword light in front of him increased, and he attacked the enemy with a thunderous roar. The girl in white swung her right hand forward, and in her ears she only heard the continuous banging sounds coming from afar like the splitting of heaven and earth. The heavens and earth opened. More than 100 sword shadows immediately seemed to collide with a solid, sturdy piece of black iron, and all shattered. The old man in the green robe's face changed drastically, and he hurriedly retreated, his hands continuously forming seals in front of him. One defensive aura after another appeared in front of him, but almost every one that appeared was immediately shattered. The old man retreated continuously, sweat pouring down his forehead, his hands moving even faster. Bang, 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 bang. Only when more than 300 defensive auras were formed by the old man's seals did the auras stop shattering. The old man's face was pale, and there was no panic in his eyes, but rather excitement, because he clearly noticed that the girl in the white robe, who had initially appeared as an ordinary person, now had streaks of death energy emanating from her. Immortal, it's nothing special. He laughed heartily, clapping his hands together, and a flash of lightning appeared in his hands. This lightning flashed and unexpectedly transformed into a sword, which the old man gripped tightly. Immediately, the lightning emanating from the sword roared through the air, hurtling towards the white-robed girl. The white-robed girl's expression remained unchanged. She sighed softly. Facing the lightning of the rapidly approaching sword, she raised her right hand and pointed forward, but this time, a large amount of death energy instantly surged from her body. Dinger, let me go. If you use up all of your more than 2,000 years of immortal energy, you might never awaken again in this lifetime. From the body of the golden dragon circling around her, a low, deep voice emanated. Before the fourth immortal sword is successfully formed, you cannot leave. She lowered her hand, and the lightning-like sword light shattered. The old man in green robes retreated continuously. At this moment, he only needed to conjure over 200 halos of light to neutralize the attack. The excitement in his eyes intensified. Just then, the last swords pierced through the void and merged in, a resounding sword clang emanating from within the golden light, and the fourth golden dragon was solidified. The girl in white's eyes were calm, with the movement of her hands. All four golden dragons immediately circled before her. She lightly tapped her hand, and the golden light surrounding one of the dragons shattered, revealing an ancient-looking immortal sword inside. This touch intensified the deathly aura on the girl in white's face. She had, of course, used the immortal energy accumulated over 2,000 years for this purpose. If it weren't for the need to accumulate more than half of his immortal power to transform Chuyi's soul, the old man in green would surely have died under this finger strike. The second sword soul of the martial sword. The ancient immortal sword immediately emitted a fist-sized, glittering light from its tip, flying out along the sword's body. The white-robed girl's body was enveloped in a heavy aura of death. She caught this glittering light and threw it towards the black mist surrounding the golden dragon beside her. Losing the light, the immortal sword immediately lost its brilliance and fell from midair. The sword's fall instantly drew the attention of all the cultivators around. The old man in green charged forward again. This time, he formed a hand seal and lowered it. After condensing 10 illusory sword lights, he swung his hand, and the sword lights immediately flew in front of him. He shouted loudly and rushed forward. At this moment, a figure suddenly emerged from the crowd. This was the middle-aged man who had fought a battle with Wang Lin and Chihu on the way. In an instant, 3 blood-colored crystals condensed before him, propelled by his full power, hurtling towards the old man in the green robe. The old man in the green robe glanced at them, said nothing, and swung his large hand. Blood crystal killing intent, explode. The middle-aged man immediately shouted, "Bang, bang, bang!" 3 loud explosions followed, and the blood crystals instantly burst apart. Within the explosions, a massive vortex appeared, its interior pitch black. A large hand emerged from the vortex, reaching out to grab the old man in the green robe. Tianzi, if you hinder me from seizing the sword, when we return to Tianstar, our 2 factions will be drenched in blood for 1,000 years. The old man in the green robe's expression changed instantly upon seeing the hand, as he shouted. At the same time, his figure flashed, dodging the large hand that was rapidly flying towards the girl in white. The hand pursued relentlessly, and from within the whirlwind, a mournful voice emanated. Ling Tianhu, the sword immortal can only be obtained through destiny. If you can seize it, then you certainly have destiny. Tianzi. Wang Lin's body trembled, his eyes revealing a strange light as he stared at the enormous hand, remaining silent. The old man in green robe's face darkened. He moved like lightning, almost instantly following the sword light to the girl in white's side, his large hand reaching for the newly formed ancient-looking sword immortal. But just as he was about to seize it, a figure even faster than lightning darted out from the surrounding crowd, snatching the ancient-looking sword immortal before him, holding it in his hand and retreating far away. Haha, Ling Tianhu, I won't covet the 4 immortal swords of Tiamozi. I'll only take one. Farewell. This figure was clearly the middle-aged scholar. He had arrived a step earlier than the old man in green, hiding among the crowd until now, and with one move, he snatched the immortal sword. Tiamozi, you dare to steal my things. Your Tiamo star awaits the destruction of my great Lua sword sect. The old man in green roared angrily. Tiamozi's speed was too fast. He realized he couldn't catch up and could only glare as the other party quickly moved away. Haha, Ling Tianhu, a decisive battle between you and me is unavoidable. I welcome your arrival anytime. The middle-aged scholar chuckled at the old man in green's threat. His speed increased, and a black hole unexpectedly appeared in the void ahead. He entered the black hole and disappeared from the immortal realm, returning to his Tiamo star. What incredible speed! It's several times faster than my star compass. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He could only see a blur of after images. The girl in white didn't even glance at him, her right hand pointing at another golden dragon beside her. The golden dragon immediately let out a groan, its golden light dissipating into a serpentine immortal sword flying in midair. The old man in green's eyes flashed, his large hand reaching forward to grab. Behind him, the large hand transformed by Ta Yunzi was getting closer and closer. The girl in white remained expressionless, her right hand pointing. The old man in green screamed, his upper body cracking and instantly shattering, a black handprint appearing on his chest. The old man spat out a mouthful of immortal blood, but his right hand maintained its unwavering speed as he reached for the immortal sword. The white-robed girl's body was enveloped in an intensely concentrated aura of death. Her eyes revealed a hint of sorrow as she lowered her voice and said, "You want this sword? I'll give it to you, but I must take its soul." The old man in green instantly grasped the snake-shaped immortal sword. A powerful, dazzling light appeared, which the white-robed girl caught in her hand and pressed against the golden light at his forehead. "This sword is mine now." The old man in green laughed heartily, enduring the pain in his chest as he clutched the snake-shaped immortal sword. After a moment of hesitation, he retreated. The large hand behind him, which had been reaching for him, immediately dodged to the side, then retreated to grab Wang Lin and Chi Hu, who had previously clashed with the middle-aged man, and quickly disappeared into the vortex. At the moment of disappearance, the aged voice of Tianyanzi echoed from within the whirlwind. "Ling Tianhu, your acquisition of the immortal swords is the will of heaven. I will not hinder you. Deal with it yourself." The old man in green laughed heartily, his eyes flashing before settling on the girl in white, and he said ominously, "Your attacks are getting weaker and weaker. This immortal finger unexpectedly couldn't kill me. It seems you are superior to the immortals. I don't want to kill you, but you won't be able to obtain the sword souls of the remaining two immortal swords. A sword without a sword soul has no inherent disadvantage. It simply lacks divine abilities and needs further refinement." The girl in white's eyes showed deep sorrow. She pointed her right hand at a golden dragon, which roared and transformed into a large sword, hovering in midair. The old man in green snorted softly, his body moving, his left hand reaching for the sword. The girl in white sighed softly, her right hand touching her forehead. Immediately, the remaining immortal power was released from her forehead. A mist approximately 10 meters thick appeared around her, forcing the old man in green to be thrown outwards. He shouted, swinging his immortal sword with his right hand, violently striking the mist. The mist trembled, but did not dissipate. The old man in the green robe, unable to accept defeat, hastily mobilized his immortal sword, even using divine magic to attack the mist. After releasing his remaining immortal power, the girl in white slowly closed her eyes, and her entire body was immediately enveloped in dense death energy. "Zhou Yi, I am not a true immortal lord. A true immortal lord should be devoid of emotion. I don't know why I was born from a remnant soul. For over 2,000 years of guarding, I have always felt the moment your primordial spirit burst into flames. I understand now. I was born from your infatuation. Thank you. If there is a next life, I hope I am no longer a remnant soul so that you can still be by my side." From the center of the last golden dragon's forehead, a mournful roar emanated from the death mist. "Dinger!" The girl in white slowly fell, struggling to raise her right arm and point it at the large sword above. A shimmering light emanated from the sword, slowly flying towards the forehead of the last golden dragon and merging into it. Having done all this, for the first time, a beautiful, joyful smile appeared on her lips. "Thank heaven, thank earth, thank fate for bringing us together. The magic of immortality cannot conceal the 1,000-year-old love of this man. Thousands of years of protection, all for the sake of my life, brought about a miracle. His love shakes heaven, his feelings move earth. For me, he sacrificed his life for him. I can also sacrifice this life. 3 lifetimes of good fortune. We make a promise for the next life. Remember not to forget. This life. No." From within the mist at the center of the golden dragon's forehead, a mournful roar finally erupted. Immediately afterward, a dazzling beam of light shot out from the mist, transforming into the form of Qi. Above Qi's head, 4 streams of golden light continuously merged, finally forming a dark golden illusory sword that entered Qi's body. His entire being instantly emitted a dazzling golden light. However, this golden light did not evoke a feeling of gentleness, but rather a feeling of profound sorrow. The golden dragon, after Chuyi emerged, immediately collapsed. Amidst the glittering points of light, the short sword the girl had just used flew beside the large sword. This large and small pair could be considered a married couple. The girl in white closed her eyes, her body lying down, and with her death, the mist surrounding them dissipated. Why? Why did she do this? She am dead. Why did she do this for me? She dies. I live. I live. She dies. Is this our fate? No. Chi wanted to embrace the girl's corpse, but the moment he touched her, the corpse became transparent, and he embraced only empty space. His eyes revealed a pain that could shake the heavens, that could shake the earth. The girl's corpse passed through him and fell downwards. The mist disappeared, and along with it, the two immortal swords, one large and one small, also descended, seemingly guided by something within. These two immortal swords circled the girl's corpse as it fell. Watching the girl's corpse continuously fall, Chiyi's eyes revealed extreme pain. Dinger. My name isn't Dinger. However, this name Dinger, I like it very much. I am a remnant soul resurrected because of your infatuation. The old man in the green robe angrily shouted, his body lunging towards the two immortal swords beside the girl's corpse. At the same time, his eyes, with a hint of apprehension, glanced at Chiyi. Wang Lin, witnessing this scene from afar, felt a surge of sorrow. Life and death she lives, he dies. This life and death is another form of destiny. In that moment, Wang Lin suddenly understood. The Taoist saying goes, if you consider it a mountain, it is a mountain. If you consider it a river, it is a river. Here, Wang Lin himself was able to comprehend this. Seeing life as life, seeing death as death, this is merely the meaning of the first level of understanding. Back then, when he was at the Four-Sect Alliance, when Wang Lin witnessed the destruction of the Four Sects by the Snow Domain Kingdom, that event propelled him to the nascent soul stage. At the final moment of his life, when the scene of blood mingling with the snow, a vague sign of breakthrough appeared in his mind. Life and death are often just a distinction. Sometimes, someone is clearly dead yet still lives on in people's hearts, and sometimes, someone is clearly alive but is no different from someone already dead. Wang Lin's eyes shone brighter and brighter. Zhou Yi's death brought Dinger back to life. Dinger's death brought Zhou Yi back to life. In this cycle of life and death, fate plays tricks. But the deaths of both were not the end, but rather the emergence of a different kind of existence within their hearts, preserved in their souls. They see life as not truly life, and death as not truly death. A brilliant light blazed in Wang Lin's eyes. He understood. A powerful aura emanated from him, as if he had discovered the true meaning of life and death. At this moment, his understanding of life and death naturally grew stronger. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He understood that his cultivation had broken through. Mid-stage transformation god was not far off. From the transformation god stage onwards, understanding the true meaning of life and death is a crucial point for breaking through cultivation. Once such a breakthrough in the realm of consciousness occurs, cultivation will break through within no more than 10 years. This is like a container. If the container is only the size of a fist, the liquid inside will naturally also be the same size. But when the realm of consciousness breaks through, it's like this container is expanded several times. Although at this stage the liquid inside is only the size of a fist, now that the control is removed, it can grow. When it grows to the volume of the container, that's when cultivation will break through. At this moment, Sword Venerable Ling Tianhu of the Great Lua Sword Sect flew at a very fast speed, his hand reaching towards the white-clothed girl falling to the ground. Aiming at the two immortal swords, one large and one small, Chuyi stared blankly at the white-clothed girl. His body and mind were empty, without a single thought in his head. The actions of the old man in green were like dropping a stone into water, instantly enraging Chuyi. His body moved, and with a flick of his arm, a powerful golden light burst forth from his body. His entire body transformed into a massive sword shadow, hurtling forward with lightning speed. The moment the sword shadow appeared, the sky darkened and cracks appeared in the ground. The old man in the green robe changed color, no longer daring to seize the sword. He could sense within this sword light a will with the power to destroy everything. Without hesitation, the old man in the green robe immediately turned, shouting loudly. He formed a cross with his hands, and a stream of sword light instantly appeared before him. He thrust it forcefully towards Chi, sending the sword shadows hurtling forward. Bang! The old man's sword light shattered, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The black handprint on his chest instantly expanded, growing exponentially larger. The Immortal's power is excessively overbearing. I am injured today and cannot fully utilize my cultivation. I have already obtained an immortal sword. That's enough. The old man in the green robe retreated and, without a word, tore a hole in the void with his right hand. Immediately, a huge rift opened in the void, pointing directly at the location of the Great Lua Sword Sect's heavenly fortune star. His figure flashed, intending to slip inside. At this moment, the sword shadow transformed. Bai Qi increased its speed, accompanied by a terrifying roar, attacking furiously. The old man's face changed drastically. Without a word, he turned and entered the rift. Simultaneously, with a wave of his right hand, the killing beast still lying on the ground instantly transformed into a beam of green light, disappearing with him into the rift. The rift quickly closed, but the sword shadow transformed. Bai Qi instantly surged in, determined to pursue him. He swore he wouldn't return until he had killed this person. The great catastrophe of the Great Lua Sword Sect also began here. Everything happened extremely quickly, in just a few breaths. The rift disappeared, and silence returned to the surroundings. The remaining more than 100 cultivators all looked at the corpse of the woman and the two immortal swords beside her. Everyone's breathing immediately became rapid. But as soon as the woman's body fell to the ground, the two immortal swords transformed into a beam of white light, shooting towards Wang Lin, who was standing among the crowd. Wang Lin was stunned. Gritting his teeth, he flicked his right hand, conjuring a pagoda. The female corpse flashed, and along with the two immortal swords, vanished into the pagoda. Immediately, everyone's eyes turned towards Wang Lin, filled with greed. Shat Hu, beside Wang Lin, had an uncertain expression. After a long while, he gave a bitter smile, retreated a few steps, and remained silent. Wang Lin's eyes darkened as he retracted the pagoda. He hadn't expected the female corpse and the immortal swords to return. At this moment, an old man in black robes stepped forward, speaking in a deep voice. Behind him were 7 people. Their eyes all showed greed as they continued to advance. 3 are late-stage nascent soul cultivators, 8 are mid-stage nascent soul cultivators, and the rest are early-stage nascent soul cultivators. Wang Lin took a deep breath, his gaze cold as he surveyed his surroundings. None of the cultivators around him had a cultivation level below nascent soul. This force was simply beyond his ability to resist. What is the Hunyuan sect, fellow Taoist? If you give me a celestial sword, our heavenly demon sect will guarantee your safety. A middle-aged man in blue robes stepped forward a few steps, looking disdainfully at the Hunyuan sect members, and said, "The Hunyuan sect and the heavenly demon sect are merely insignificant pawns. Our heavenly sword sect will definitely take both of these celestial swords." A long burst of laughter rang out. Immediately afterward, a figure rushed out from the crowd, charging towards Wang Lin. This person's movement instantly stirred up all the hundreds of cultivators who rushed forward. Wang Lin raised his eyebrows. The person was now close. He looked old, his hair gray, his eyes filled with confidence. His cultivation was at the mid-stage of the transformation god realm. As he approached, Wang Lin's eyes flashed. He knew that if he retreated now, he would be doomed forever. His expression was calm. He raised his right hand and pointed at the person. The life and death intent immediately surged forth. The gray-haired old man's body, upon approaching, instantly froze. The opponent's finger showed no spiritual energy fluctuations, yet it carried a powerful intent. A mere early-stage transformation god intent cultivator dares to show off in front of this old man. The old man showed a disdainful expression, his body not stopping, but instead accelerating. He knew that attacking with intent was a special technique of nascent soul cultivators, but this kind of attack was extremely dangerous. Even a slight mistake would cause mental chaos. However, using the intent of an early nascent soul cultivator to attack a mid-nascent soul cultivator was like trying to fight a rock with an egg. You want to die. The old man bared his teeth and laughed, his intent in his primordial spirit suddenly stirring, wanting to completely destroy the opponent's intent. Wang Lin's eyes were calm, and he softly uttered, "What is life?" At this moment, The image of the nascent soul cultivators of the Four Nations Alliance rushing into the fire like moths to a flame, the blood-red snow region, reappeared vividly in his mind. His intent struck directly at the gray-robed old man who was charging towards him. His face changed drastically. He immediately realized that this person's intent was somewhat strange. His own intent, even with all his might, was unexpectedly unable to stop it. In an instant, his entire consciousness seemed to merge into the cycle of heaven and earth. In terror, he immediately retreated. But before he could run more than a few steps, fresh blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Unable to utter a word, he crossed his legs, closed his eyes, and sat down on the ground. Behind Wang Lin, a gray halo suddenly appeared. Within this halo, a layer of gray energy slowly dispersed, forming a large painting. However, this painting was not yet solid, but extremely vague, as if a gust of wind would cause it to vanish. The painting contained only two colors, black and white, seemingly monotonous. But the moment this painting appeared, everyone around was stunned, immediately stopping, their eyes revealing fear. What kind of artistic conception is this? What kind of nascent soul artistic conception is this person using? Why does this black and white painting give me such a terrifying feeling? Reincarnation. This is a painting of the cycle of life and death. The two colors, black and white, though simple, represent death. Black symbolizes death and white symbolizes life. Wang Lin, standing before this enormous painting, felt a sense of the cycle of heaven and earth. He looked at the old man in gray and asked, "What is death?" Behind the old man in gray, a series of illusory figures suddenly appeared. Within these figures, two white-haired old men could be seen affectionately gazing at a middle-aged man kneeling on the ground. The middle-aged man and the two old men bore a striking resemblance, clearly their youthful forms. The essence of this man was filial piety. But immediately, these illusory figures shattered, leaving only the black and white images. The old man in the gray robe trembled, his eyes widened, and he spat out a large mouthful of blood. He immediately became listless, his eyes dull and lifeless. His mental state was shattered, his Tao heart forcibly destroyed, and his nascent soul cultivation, now devoid of mental state, instantly plummeted. Wang Lin sighed softly, taking a step forward, his right index finger pointing at the old man's forehead. Bang! The old man's head instantly shattered into pieces of flesh and blood, scattering in all directions, and his body immediately collapsed. Although my cultivation is only at the early nascent soul stage, my mental state just now advanced to the middle nascent soul stage. My life and death mental state has reached the second level. I even dared to fight Hong Dai, a late nascent soul cultivator, let alone you. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with a strange light as he looked around. Under his gaze, everyone present fell silent, but the greed in their eyes showed not the slightest sign of diminishing. They thought that although Wang Lin's mental state was powerful, he was alone and would undoubtedly die today. Wang Lin's eyes were calm, and he said softly, "Why haven't you shown yourself yet?" As soon as Wang Lin uttered these words, a rumbling sound immediately filled the air. A large coffin appeared, suddenly soaring high into the air before crashing down a few meters in front of Wang Lin with a loud bang. A wave of air spread in all directions. Immediately, the cultivators all recoiled, their faces showing bewilderment. An old man sat cross-legged atop the coffin. Upon appearing, he stared intently at Wang Lin, his gaze complex. "You knew I was here," the old man said slowly. Wang Lin remained calm, smiling as he replied, "Of course. You've been following me all along the way." The old man snorted softly. "The Yin sect." The cultivators around instantly recognized it, their faces changing drastically, and they cried out in alarm. The mere mention of the Yin sect caused most of the people present to subtly change their expressions. "Get out of here." The old man raised his eyebrows, a hint of annoyance in his heart. He flicked his right hand, and the two cultivators closest to him immediately spat out blood, their bodies seemingly struck by a powerful force. He was thrown far away upon impact. "Brother Bien." The monks all around immediately took a deep breath, and all retreated. The old man from the Yin sect glanced at Wang Lin, suddenly smirking, and said, "Kid, let's make a deal, shall we? I'll help you kill these people, and you give me 1,000 years of freedom. During these 1,000 years, I won't come looking for you, and you shouldn't bother crushing my primordial spirit. How about that?" Wang Lin smiled and said, 1,000 years is too long. Moreover, what if I die within these 1,000 years? The old man stared blankly, fiercely scratching his head, then said, Bah, I'm doing this for you. If you don't live for 1,000 years, won't I have to bury a primordial spirit as well? At this moment, the old man finally thought of this problem, his eyes turning red, a deep sorrow in his heart driving him almost mad. He glared fiercely at Wang Lin and, with a swift movement, immediately attacked the cultivators surrounding him. The entire group of cultivators immediately retreated, trying to escape. With their cultivation level facing a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator, they had absolutely no chance of resisting. This was truly a massacre. Shathu stood there stunned. A group of cultivators surrounding him suddenly fell, each one brutally killed, their minds greatly shaken. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged from beginning to end. He silently looked around without saying a word. After a long while, the old man returned. A thick aura of killing intent emanated from him, making the surrounding air seem to turn crimson. He stared at Wang Lin for a long time, then waved his right hand forward. The jade slip instantly transformed into a flash of lightning, which Wang Lin caught in his hand. Within 1,000 years, I will act for you once. Try your best to survive. After saying this, the old man turned and took a step, his body, including the coffin, soaring into the sky and disappearing from sight. Wang Lin remained silent for a moment, then patted his storage bag and a compass flew out. He leapt onto it, glanced at Chihu, and said, Brother Chihu, come up here. Let's return to the Vermilion Bird Star. Chihu took a deep breath, his body rising onto the compass. He looked at Wang Lin, his mouth opening as if to say something, but for some reason, he couldn't speak. He retreated a few steps. After retreating, the friendship between the two of them resurfaced. Wang Lin said nothing, controlling the compass to enter the void, flying rapidly towards the location of the vortex. After a long while, on the star compass, Chihu said in a low voice, Thank you. Wang Lin smiled and nodded without speaking. He knew what Chihu was thanking him for just now. If he had said a word, Suntai would have killed Chihu immediately. Rest assured, I will not tell anyone about what happened today. I, Chihu, swear on the giant demon clan. Chihu took a deep breath and said solemnly. Time slowly passed. Even with the speed of the star compass, it took several days to pass through the side of the small fragment and finally reach the location of the large vortex. On the plain, only a few cultivators were sitting cross-legged, whispering to each other. They were all discussing the matter of the immortal sword. It's just that everyone in that small area had already been killed by Suntai. Therefore, outsiders probably don't know who actually possesses that immortal sword. A short distance from the vortex, Wang Lin retracted his compass, and he and Chihu flew forward, quickly arriving at the flat area where the vortex had appeared. The two looked at each other, and Wang Lin clasped his hands and smiled, saying, Brother Chihu, we'll meet again on the Vermilion Bird Star. After saying that, he potted his storage bag, and the returning cauldron, used for returning, appeared in his hand. Chihu took a deep breath and sincerely looked at Wang Lin, saying, Brother Zhang, if there's a chance, you must come to the giant demon clan. You and I must raise a glass together. Wang Lin laughed heartily and nodded. The returning cauldron in his hand opened, and a huge vortex immediately appeared before him. Wang Lin glanced at this immortal realm one last time before stepping into the vortex and disappearing. Shathu potted his storage bag, and a cauldron appeared in his hand. He opened the cauldron and stepped inside. In recent months, many major events had occurred on Vermilion Bird Star, but the most attention-grabbing and arguably most shocking event, which shook all the fourth-tier cultivation nations on Vermilion Bird Star, was the severing of one of Hong Dai's arms. Hong Dai had been promoted to a fifth-tier cultivation nation since participating in the annihilation of the Four-Sex Alliance and the Snow Domain Kingdom. This series of events had caused her fame on Vermilion Bird Star to skyrocket. Rumors circulated that she had reached the late stage of the transformation god realm in less than 100 years, immediately catching the attention of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom and becoming a core disciple. All of this was widely discussed. 2 years ago, Hong Dai entered the immortal realm with the martial cauldron, a fact that was largely unknown. But 5 months ago, at the Vermilion Bird Kingdom's sacrificial altar, held once every 100 years, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom summoned all the fifth-tier cultivation nations for a conference. Halfway through the conference, a strange phenomenon suddenly occurred in the air. A massive whirlwind appeared from the sky, and from within it, Hong Dai flew out. She had lost an arm, and after falling to the ground, she only uttered one name before immediately falling unconscious. Zhang Yu. This was the name Hong Dai uttered through gritted teeth before almost losing consciousness. All the envoys from the 5 cultivation nations were instantly stunned. The news of Hong Dai's severed arm and uttering the name Zhang Yu spread like wildfire throughout the Vermilion Bird Star. The name Zhang Yu suddenly rose to prominence, completely overshadowing Hong Dai, becoming the center of attention on the Vermilion Bird Star, the shining star that everyone was watching. Everyone was speculating about which planet Zhang Yu actually came from. Just then, Hong Dai woke up and revealed Zhang Yu's background. This Zhang Yu is a cultivator from the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, and he is indeed a member of the Zheng clan. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire Vermilion Bird Kingdom erupted in commotion. First, the Zheng clan's patriarch consulted their family tree and, unexpectedly, confirmed that there was indeed someone in the clan named Zhang Yu. However, this person was not yet 30 years old, and his cultivation level was only at the foundation establishment stage. Next, this person took a family tree to the Vermilion Bird Kingdom and presented it to prove the Zheng family's innocence. From then on, rumors related to Zhang Yu immediately became the topic of heated discussion among all cultivators. Countless cultivators conducted thorough investigations, trying to uncover his true identity, but ultimately none succeeded. Unusually, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom remained silent, acting as if nothing had happened. The name Zhang Yu, after this incident on Juke Star, became the #1 expert among the younger generation. Although the Zheng family repeatedly asserted that this Zhang Yu was not the real Zhang Yu, not many believed them. Cultivators from various countries frequently came to visit, causing Zhang Yu to experience periods of panic and moments of triumph. This matter immediately resurfaced 3 days ago after the return of the young clan leader of the giant demon clan. Shadhu's return immediately led to a large influx of cultivators visiting him, and Zhu Kingdom dispatched someone to investigate matters related to Zhang Yu. Shadhu remained silent on all matters concerning Zhang Yu. Finally, Zhu Kingdom sent someone to pressure him, and he finally uttered a single sentence. I don't know his real name, only that he's called Zhang Yu. This person's cultivation is unfathomable. Regarding the feud between fellow Taoist Hong Deep and this person, I am not clear. But from what I perceive, fellow Taoist Hong Deep struck first, and only after 3 such attacks did Zhang Yu cornered retaliate. If even half a word of my words is fabricated, may my soul be shattered. After saying this, Shadhu immediately announced his seclusion, declining all other visitors. These words somehow spread, and the name Zhang Yu resurfaced once again, this time with the ferocity of a tidal wave, greatly boosting Zhang Yu's reputation. Following this, Hong Deep's injuries in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom improved, and she immediately sent a message through the Vermilion Bird Kingdom. Zhang Yu, our battle is not over yet. I await your arrival. Zhang Yu, who exactly are you? This question not only arose in the hearts of Shadhu and Hong Dai, but also among the vast majority of cultivators, all wondering, who is this Zhang Yu? Although Hong Dai had imprinted her image into a scroll preserved in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, it had not yet been publicly released. Ultimately, no one knew what the Vermilion Bird Kingdom was planning. Zhang Yu and my father have the same name. My father used to be called Dan Yu in a small sect of a 4th-tier cultivation kingdom. A middle-aged man gazed into the distance, muttering to himself. On Vermilion Bird Star, where Wang Lin had entered the immortal realm before, the sky was now thick with dark clouds, flashes of lightning, and incessant heavy rain poured down from the heavens. This rain had been falling continuously for over a month. During these rainy days, even cultivators rarely ventured outside their mountain gates, let alone ordinary mortals. One day, 2 streaks of sword light flew from the distant horizon, a soft halo above shielding them from the rain. Within the halo were 2 people, an old man and a young man. The old man had snow-white hair and wrinkles etched on his face, while the young woman, about 17 or 18 years old, was beautiful. Master, flying in this rain consumes spiritual power faster. Consider it a method of cultivation, the young woman said with a smile. Not bad. If you always work diligently like this, you could reach the golden core stage within 10 years. The old man chuckled. Master, What level of cultivation did Zhang Niu have that he could unexpectedly sever the arm of the prodigy daughter of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom? Or has he reached the legendary nascent soul stage? The young woman suddenly asked. Zhang Niu, he is a senior expert. How can I comment on that? However, according to my analysis, his cultivation is likely late-stage transformation god, not nascent soul. Otherwise, as you said, Han Dai would certainly not have just lost an arm, but would have lost her life. No sooner had the old man finished speaking than a rumbling sound erupted from ahead, followed by a clap of thunder from midair. But with each passing moment, the lightning within the space intensified. A massive whirlwind then formed within the storm. From within this whirlwind, frenzied lightning bolts shot out, like thousands of silver snakes roaring and scattering. This is bad. The old man's face changed drastically. He embraced his disciple and quickly retreated. At the same time, his right hand formed a hand seal, and a bagua-shaped treasure mirror instantly flew out of his storage bag. The mirror stopped before him and began to spin rapidly. With several cracking sounds, the bagua-shaped treasure mirror immediately cracked and shattered. The old man didn't have time to grieve. He retreated several meters further in the instant the mirror shattered. But the lightning bolts in the air were already roaring fiercely towards them. Despair flashed in the old man's eyes. He gritted his teeth, pushed the young woman aside, and shouted, "Go! Master will hold them off for you. Hurry!" "Master!" The young woman's eyes reddened, about to speak further. But at that moment, the sudden flash of lightning that had torn through the air stopped abruptly, then contracted, forming a sphere. Simultaneously, this sphere of lightning suddenly flickered, bright on the outside and dark on the inside, from which a young man in white robes stepped out. The old man and his disciple stared blankly at the scene before them for a long time, unable to utter a word. The young man in white emerged from the lightning, his expression unchanged, observing his surroundings, taking a deep breath, and finally focusing his gaze on the two master and disciple. This young man in white was indeed Wang Lin. Vermilion Bird Star, I've returned. According to Wang Lin's analysis, the incident of Han Dai losing her arm after returning to Vermilion Bird Star would certainly cause some commotion. The old man stood in front of the young woman, cautiously but respectfully saying, "Senior, quite a few things have happened on Vermilion Bird Star recently. I wonder what you are referring to." Wang Lin smiled and said, "Tell me about all the events." Before the old man could speak, the young woman behind him immediately laughed and said, "The biggest event, of course, is related to Zhang Niu." Zhang Niu. Wang Lin was stunned, rubbing his nose. His heart stirred, and he immediately understood. That's right, the main culprit on Vermilion Bird Star is Zhang Niu. Han Dai losing her arm was indeed caused by him. The young woman continued, oblivious to her master's glaring eyes. Wang Lin remained silent for a moment, then smiled. This was within his expectations, so hearing it now didn't surprise him. He casually asked, "I wonder what this Zhang Niu looks like. Is he wanted by the Vermilion Bird Kingdom?" The young woman was about to speak further when her master stopped her. The old man carefully looked at Wang Lin and respectfully said, "Senior, the Vermilion Bird Kingdom hasn't announced anything regarding a bounty on Zhang Niu." Wang Lin chuckled at the old man, glanced at the young woman, patted his storage bag, and took out a small bottle of pills. He threw it forward and said with a smile, "Little girl, you're straightforward, not bad. You're stronger than your master. This bottle of pills will be very beneficial for your core formation. Here you go." After saying that, Wang Lin's body moved slightly, and he disappeared from the spot. Following his disappearance, the whirlwind of lightning in the air slowly dissipated, and rain began to fall again. The old man took a deep breath, his mind still somewhat unsettled. Although the young man spoke and smiled gently, he gave the old man the feeling of an angelic statue. A mere wave of the other's hand and he would be reduced to dust. "Master, what kind of elixir is this?" the young woman asked curiously, looking at the bottle. The old man took it and opened it, his expression instantly changing. He hastily poured out a pill, sniffed it, and his body trembled. With lightning speed, he put the pill back into the bottle, quickly put it in his storage bag, grabbed the young woman, and hurried away. The young woman felt puzzled, and only after they had traveled more than 10 miles did she ask another question. The old man took a deep breath, a glint of excitement in his eyes, and said, "Disciple, if that person didn't mistakenly take the wrong elixir, then he must be a cultivator of astonishing strength." This elixir is called the Earth-Shattering Elixir, and its effectiveness is unbelievably good for cultivators in the core formation stage. There are 3 of them in this bottle. These 3 could absolutely cause a massacre in our Shuilu kingdom. The young woman's eyes widened, her mouth agape. These 2 master and disciple didn't know that the vast majority of these earth-shattering elixirs had been consumed by Wang Lin's spirit beast. Wang Lin's body soared through the air. His direction was towards Chu Kingdom, near the cultivation demon sea. He hadn't returned for many years. Now that his great revenge had been avenged, his journey in the immortal realm had ended, and it was time to return home if it weren't for the malfunction of the Wu Hui cauldron. I would have returned long ago. I didn't expect to be teleported to such a desolate planet, Wang Lin muttered to himself. In fact, he had returned a few days earlier, but after entering the Void Return Peak during the teleportation, an unexpected malfunction occurred, causing a slight misalignment, resulting in him being transported to a planet completely devoid of life. Moreover, this planet wasn't far from the Vermilion Bird Star. At this moment, it was beginning to darken, and Wang Lin could see the planet when he looked up. This moon is also a planet, though much smaller. Wang Lin took a deep breath, increasing his speed, transforming into an arc of light and flying rapidly away. It's a pity that I only stopped there for a moment before being teleported away again. There's a strange fluctuation on the moon. I must investigate it when my cultivation is more profound. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he thought to himself. Wang Lin flew day and night without stopping, as this place was too far from the Chu Kingdom. Finally, he had to use the ancient teleportation array several times to significantly reduce the distance. As for the star compass, Wang Lin realized that it could only be used in the void or starry sky, and couldn't be opened on Vermilion Bird Star. The star compass is missing a corner, and it's also missing a certain material. I wonder if it can be fully restored and used on Vermilion Bird Star. If it can be used, even if I encounter a transformation stage cultivator, I can still escape. And why is Vermilion Bird Kingdom issuing a bounty on me? This is a bit strange. While flying, Wang Lin took out a straw hat from his storage bag and put it on his head. The forbidden formations inside the straw hat had many points that couldn't be deciphered. This time, upon returning to Chu Kingdom, he must carefully study them. And there's the Forbidden's banner. Through the sword of the Great Luo Sword Sect disciple, there must be many more offensive Forbidden's formations. It's a pity I only have 3 of these treasure swords. One of them, the Great Luo Sword of the Wang Lin sect, was obtained by killing a disciple of that sect. The other 2 were inadvertently acquired from Chi Hu's storage bag in the void. Cultivating in seclusion to reach the mid-stage of the transformation god realm, searching for materials to repair the star compass, researching the straw hat, perfecting the Forbidden's banner. There's really so much to do. Wang Lin smiled wryly. And there's Talin in the ancient godland. Many years have passed. I wonder what level his cultivation has reached. Before he leaves the ancient godland, I must have enough strength to protect myself. Wang Lin thought to himself. Thinking of Talin, Wang Lin couldn't help but remember Tia Yunzi. Unexpectedly, this journey to the immortal realm didn't lead to meeting my future master. Unexpectedly, today, Senior Tia Yunzi is confronting the head of the Great Luo Sword Sect. The middle-aged man battling Chi, who is also a disciple of Tia Yunzi, though I don't know if he's a disciple of this senior. Later, when my cultivation is sufficient, when I go to Tia Yunstar, I wonder if this person will hold a grudge against me. Wang Lin raised his eyebrows. The cultivation of the old man in the green robe from the Great Luo Sword Sect is truly formidable. Could he be a peak-level cultivator? It's a pity I haven't met a peak-level expert, so I can't estimate. However, judging from his words, his cultivation is slightly lower than Tia Yunzi's. Therefore, Senior Tia Yunzi, who is preparing to take me as a 100-year registered disciple, what will his cultivation be like? I wonder if Senior Tia Yunzi knew about this while I was nearby. Wang Lin thought to himself. This journey in the immortal realm has been very fruitful. However, the presence of a female corpse inside the immortal Jade Pagoda is a bit troublesome. Regarding Senior Chuyi's matter, since I've already agreed, I won't change my mind. I just wonder what the outcome was for Senior Chuyi's pursuit of the old man in the green robe. Wang Lin flew away, a series of thoughts flashing through his mind. The sword immortal of the rain. After I return to Chu Kingdom, I will definitely see if I can retrieve it from the pagoda. Wang Lin took a deep breath, paused, and descended from the air. Before him was an ancient teleportation array. Wang Lin reluctantly took out a top-grade spirit stone, placed it inside, and his figure gradually disappeared. A million miles away, Wang Lin's figure reappeared. He touched his storage bag, muttering to himself, "Top-grade spirit stones aren't many, but luckily I managed to get some from my looted storage bag this time." However, after dividing it with Shathu, only about 20 blocks remained. He had to use them wisely. These top-grade spirit stones would surely have other uses in the future. Wang Lin didn't stop, immediately rushing out and continuing his flight. Time slowly passed. A month later, Wang Lin stood outside another teleportation array, patting his storage bag, about to take out a top-grade spirit stone. Suddenly, his heart stirred. He spread out his divine consciousness, and after confirming that no one was around, he carefully took out a piece of immortal jade. The quality of immortal jade is much higher than top-grade spirit stones. I wonder if it can be used to open the ancient teleportation array, Wang Lin pondered, placing the immortal jade inside the array. The moment the immortal jade was placed inside the array, the teleportation array immediately emitted a faint light, the array rumbled, and surprisingly, a series of tiny cracks appeared all around. At the same time, a silent, illusory painting appeared before Wang Lin. Inside this painting, 8 points of light flickered, one of which shone with constantly flashing light. Wang Lin's expression froze as he witnessed the increasingly severe cracks all around. Without thinking, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he pointed his finger at a point of light on the painting. Immediately, he heard a loud bang, and the formation collapsed. Just before it shattered, the immortal jade within the formation shot up, which Wang Lin collected into his hand. At the same time, his body was enveloped by a strange force emanating from the formation, and he vanished in an instant. After Wang Lin disappeared, a gentle breeze blew, and the ancient teleportation formation immediately turned to dust, leaving only faint traces on the ground. This teleportation felt like a tunnel through the starry sky, leading to the immortal realm. However, this feeling only lasted for a moment before dissipating. Wang Lin's figure reappeared in a teleportation array an unknown distance from his original location. His divine consciousness swept across the area, and even with his composure, he couldn't help but show a hint of astonishment. This place was unexpectedly only about 800,000 miles from the cultivation Demon Sea. A single teleportation had traversed several ancient teleportation arrays. Wang Lin had calculated the distance to be at least 10 million miles. He hadn't expected to cover such a distance in the blink of an eye, a distance that would normally take over a month. This filled Wang Lin with a sense of dread. He lowered his head and looked at the immortal jade in his hand. Its color was no longer pure white, but had slightly turned gray, occupying about 1/10 of the immortal jade. Recalling the illusory painting on the ancient teleportation array, Wang Lin suddenly understood that perhaps this was the true way to use the ancient teleportation array. The power of the supreme grade spirit stone can only teleport to the nearest teleportation array. Only by using immortal jade can all teleportation arrays be opened, thus allowing for selection. However, each teleportation consumes 1/10 of the immortal jade. Although he has quite a few immortal jades, such consumption is unsustainable for him, not for teleporting more, but for consuming immortal energy. I'm afraid that on Vermilion Bird Star, there aren't many people who can use immortal jade to teleport. Wang Lin chuckled to himself. His body moved slightly, and he flew forward again. Things were not much different from Wang Lin's prediction. On Vermilion Bird Star, while there are people who can use immortal jade to open teleportation arrays, they are truly very few. Only the peak-level monster of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom could, without a second thought, take out the immortal jade to teleport. While Wang Lin was flying, he touched the bracelet on his wrist. In the second battle with Hong Dai, Li Washington the electric frog had naturally fallen into a dying state. Although it was currently in the beast zone absorbing spiritual power, the frequency had decreased from once every few days to once every few months. Wang Lin understood that if he hadn't been constantly pouring spiritual power into it every few days, Leiwa's life would have long since been lost. This time in Chu Kingdom, I wonder if Wanner can cure Li Washington. Alas, because of me, this beast has fallen into this state. Wang Lin, cannot ignore it, he thought to himself. And a very small tremor suddenly emanated from his wrist, as if responding to his thoughts. At that very moment, in the Cloud Heaven sect of Chu Kingdom, Li Muwen was sitting in the East Garden Pavilion. Before her lay a zither, her delicate fingers gliding across the strings, creating exquisite melodies. Over 100 years had passed, a mere fleeting moment for Wang Lin. But for Li Muan, it felt like an eternity. At this moment, her countenance had changed slightly, appearing more sorrowful than it had been back then. In truth, without the help of the dew from the heaven-defying pearl, she would have long since turned into a pile of white bones. For 100 years, I've remained stuck at the late stage of the golden core realm. The spiritual liquid you gave me has begun to lose its effect. My body is weakening day by day. If I still can't achieve the nascent soul realm within the next 10 years, a hint of sorrow flickered in Li Muan's eyes. She forcefully suppressed it, preventing tears from welling up. But the music betrayed her emotions, filled with helplessness and grief. Anyone who heard it felt a heavy weight in their heart. Wang Lin, where are you, ultimately? The sorrow in Li Muan's eyes intensified. Her heart ached terribly. The scene of her meeting with Wang Lin kept replaying in her mind. This was the only motivation that kept her waiting. Without this memory, her body might not perish, but her heart would have long since died. Wang Lin, perhaps by the time you return, we will have been separated by life and death. Finally, she couldn't hold back any longer, and tears streamed down her cheeks. At this moment, outside the pavilion stood two people, both with white hair. The sect master's music reveals the meaning of death. Alas, an old man shook his head and said, Liu Fei, in the past 100 years, the sect master has attempted to form a golden core 3 times, but failed each time despite consuming countless elixirs. If it weren't for the hope of ever meeting him again, I fear that she would have perished 30 years ago if she hadn't failed. The old man in black beside him said with a bitter smile. Song Qing, you said that person, he's still alive? A cold figure flashed through Liu Fei's mind, and his body trembled. Even after 100 years, he could never forget the terrifying memory of that time. 100 years ago, he was at the early nascent soul stage. How could he be dead? If my guess isn't wrong, he's probably reached the late nascent soul stage by now. Song Qing was silent for a moment, then sighed softly. The fear in his heart was even deeper than Liu Fei's. The scene from the year frequently haunted his nightmares. That massacre had become his inner demon. Alas, even if he could reach the late nascent soul stage, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to save the fate of our Yantia sect. Liu Fei's expression turned bitter. Song Qing remained silent for a long time, then smiled bitterly and said, that foreign cultivator destroyed the Qingtia sect 3 days ago. I wonder who his next target will be. Even the envoy was intimidated by this person's strength and fled, not daring to resist. The fate of our Yantia sect is already sealed, Liu Fei said bitterly. For late-stage nascent soul grand elders. 30 years ago, Elder Liu failed to achieve the god transformation stage and perished. Now, we don't know the fate of Elder Gongsun, he sighed. Just then, the music stopped, and the gentle voice of Li Muan came from inside the building. Please come in, seniors, to talk. Water is not feeling well and is unable to greet you. Liu Fei and Song Qing quickly bowed respectfully, exchanged glances, and hurried into the building. Li Muan stared blankly at the zither, shook her head slightly, and looked towards the two of them. Liu Fei's eyes showed a complex expression, and she whispered, Sect Master, please take care of your health. Playing the zither like this is very exhausting. Li Muan sighed softly, smiling. I am already very weak today. Even without playing the zither, I can't live for more than 10 years. Liu Fei sighed inwardly. Is there any news of Gongsun Cheng? Li Muan asked calmly. 7 days ago, Elder Gongsun went to find that foreign cultivator, and he hasn't returned yet. I'm afraid. Song Qing's eyes showed a hint of sorrow, and he said nothing more. Li Muan pondered for a long time, then smiled subtly and said, have you found out anything about the background of that foreign cultivator? Liu Fei said, all I know is that this person, at first glance, doesn't seem very old, is skilled in using poisonous insects, and exudes a bloodthirsty aura. He's definitely a murderer. A month ago, he suddenly appeared in our Chu Kingdom's territory. In 7 days, he annihilated 3 sects and killed several nascent soul stage cultivators. 3 days ago, all the disciples of the Qingtia sect were wiped out, with only a few who were out visiting relatives managing to escape. Li Muan stared blankly out the window. After a long while, just as she was about to speak again, her face flushed unusually red, her whole body trembled, and she began to cough violently. Liu Fei and Song Qing immediately showed worried expressions. Li Muan covered her mouth with her right hand, coughing for a while before gradually calming down. She glanced at the gruesome fresh blood in her palm, wiped it away with a handkerchief, and lowered her voice, saying, "In a few days, when my body is a little stronger, I will return the soul blood. You should escape on your own." Sect Master. Liu Fei and Song Qing almost simultaneously exclaimed, their eyes filled with bitterness. Although their soul blood was still in Li Muan's hands, for 100 years, Li Muan had never once used it to pressure them and had treated them as juniors. Humans are not plants. Over the past 100 years, any trace of their past resentment had long since vanished. Sect Master, Yingzi has been researching the life-extending elixir for many years and is close to success. Your body will definitely recover, Liu Fei said. Li Muan shook her head and said softly, "It's no use. Even if I succeed, it will only give me a little more vitality. Over the past 10 years, I've realized that I've gradually aged. Perhaps in a few more years, my hair will turn white. Moreover, the Cloud Heaven sect will also find it difficult to escape this calamity." Song Qing said bitterly, "Sect Master, we can seek help from the Giant Demon Clan." This foreign cultivator scared away the Giant Demon Clan's envoy, so of course the Giant Demon Clan will take action. We just need to persevere for a while. The Giant Clan. Zheng Niu, alas, if this person hadn't appeared, the Giant Demon Clan would certainly have had no choice but to take care of us, Liu Fei said. If that Zheng Niu could come to our Chu Kingdom, this perilous calamity would definitely be averted, Song Qing said self-deprecatingly. His words were merely a sigh. He hadn't even considered the possibility. Liu Fei smiled bitterly and said, "Zheng Niu, that's a senior figure whose arm even the heavenly chosen Hong Dai had her arm severed. I'm afraid he's probably never even heard of our Chu Kingdom. You all withdraw now. Tell the two great elders who are in seclusion my intentions. After I return the soul blood, you can all leave," Li Muan said softly. "Sect Master, what about you? Come with us," Liu Fei said. A look of profound sorrow appeared in Li Muan's eyes. At this moment, she felt no fear. Even if she couldn't escape fate, she couldn't leave the Cloud Heaven sect. Even if she had to die, she wanted to die here. This was the place of their promise to each other. She said nothing, only gently shook her head, her gaze directed towards the blue sky and white clouds outside the window. And the image of Wang Lin appeared in her eyes. Brother Wang, a small creature, flew out from Li Muan's forehead, circling around her, finally settling on the zither. Its tiny eyes looking at Li Muan, blinking and then not. "Littling, where is your master?" Li Muan's delicate hands stroked the creature's head, softly speaking. Wang Lin had flown rapidly across the 800,000 miles. One day, standing beside the cultivation demon sea, he suddenly felt a tremor in his heart. He looked towards the distant Chu Kingdom, and for some reason, a tremor arose within him. He had never felt such a tremor before, and it suddenly appeared. Inner demon, impossible. With my cultivation level, an ordinary inner demon couldn't possibly enter my primordial spirit. Wang Lin's body didn't stop, and he entered the cultivation demon sea. It's been many years since I last saw Wanner. I must buy something she likes. A smile appeared on Wang Lin's lips. With a flash, Wang Lin quickly flew towards the cultivation demon sea. Along the way, Wang Lin's speed didn't slow down. After using several teleportation arrays, one day, about 10,000 miles ahead of him, a city appeared. This city was called Demon Reversal City, the third of the 10 great cities in the cultivation demon inner sea, and it was several times larger than the cities Wang Lin had visited before. Wang Lin's jade slip contained a brief description of this city. However, this information was from before the invasion of the demonic cultivation sea. Now, the demonic cultivation inner sea was a chaotic mix of many large and small forces, so whether anything had changed, Wang Lin didn't know. But his purpose in coming here wasn't to cause trouble, but simply to buy some gifts for Li Muan. After handing over a few low-grade spirit stones, Wang Lin entered the demonic rebellious city. Inside, there were many cultivators bustling about. Wang Lin, wearing his straw hat, looked around and couldn't help but smile. Ahead, amidst many buildings, stood a striking 5-story building with a vertical sign bearing 3 characters, Refining Pavilion. Wang Lin slowed down and walked towards it. After entering the building, Wang Lin glanced around and went directly to the 2nd floor. He didn't pay much attention to the items there, so he went straight to the third floor. On the third floor, a middle-aged man was holding an ancient book, carefully examining it. Seeing Wang Lin approach, he put down the book and smiled, saying, "Sir, what item are you looking to purchase?" Wang Lin glanced at it and calmly replied, "Pill formulas." The middle-aged man smiled and said, "The refining pavilion has many pill formulas." "What kind of pill formula are you looking for? 5th grade or higher?" Wang Lin said, sitting down on a nearby chair. The middle-aged man's expression immediately became serious. He took a sip of tea and said, "5th grade pill formulas are priceless. The refining pavilion in Demon Inversion City doesn't have many, only 3. Please wait a moment. I'll bring them to you." After speaking, the man hurried upstairs and soon returned with 3 brocade boxes. Following him was an old man with bright eyes and a powerful aura emanating from his body. He casually glanced at Wang Lin, remaining silent. Wang Lin also casually glanced at the old man, then focused on the brocade boxes in the middle-aged man's hands. The middle-aged man placed the boxes down and smiled, saying, "These are 3 5th grade pill formulas. 2 of them are from the Cloud Heaven sect of Chu Kingdom, and 1 is from the Heavenly Cliff sect of the desert. These are jade slips recording the effects of the pills. Please take a look." With that, he flipped his hand, and 3 jade slips appeared, placed on the brocade boxes. Wang Lin picked up each jade slip in turn. Inside, there were only the effects of the pills, not the refining methods. The pill formulas were in the brocade boxes. Years ago, before leaving the Cloud Heaven sect, Wang Lin had already looked through all the 5th grade pill formulas here. At this moment, with just a glance, he recognized the jade slip containing the elixirs of the Cloud Heaven sect. His divine consciousness merely swept over it briefly before dismissing it, focusing instead on the jade slip describing the elixirs of the Heavenly Cliff sect. After a long while, Wang Lin put down the jade slip and calmly said, "I want this returning to origin elixir from the Heavenly Cliff sect. Does your refining pavilion have a 6th grade elixir formula?" The middle-aged man hesitated for a moment, glancing at the old man beside him. The old man's expression became serious, and he nodded. The middle-aged man immediately smiled and said, "Alchemy formulas of 6th grade and above are priceless, and our refining pavilion only has 1. However, it's not for sale in the usual way, but rather for auction at the Cultivation Demon Auction, held once every 10 years. If you wish to purchase it, please wait 2 months. The auction will take place in 2 months. Wang Lin raised his eyebrows and said, "No need. How much is this 5th grade alchemy formula?" The middle-aged man smiled and said, "Do you want to exchange items or purchase it with spirit stones?" "Spirit stones," Wang Lin said. The man's face showed a look of embarrassment, and he said, "Well, for items that reach a certain level, our refining pavilion usually doesn't sell them for spirit stones." Wang Lin raised his eyebrows, stood up, patted his storage bag with his right hand, immediately threw out an item, then picked up the brocade box containing the alchemy formula and walked downstairs. The old man was stunned and instinctively took a step forward. But at this moment, a cold light flashed from within the straw hat Wang Lin was wearing. The old man's mind was instantly shaken, his nascent soul nearly dissipated, and he frantically took several steps back, not daring to stop him any further, letting Wang Lin descend to the lower floor. The middle-aged man caught the object Wang Lin threw, glanced at it, and his body immediately trembled, revealing an expression of disbelief. This is half a block of top-grade spirit stone. In Wang Lin's understanding, the value of a 5th-grade pill formula and half a block of top-grade spirit stone were roughly equal, and moreover, Wang Lin hadn't offered half a block, but a quarter of a block. These past few days, most shops in the major strongholds of the Inner Sea of Cultivation have been visited by a straw-hatted man buying medicinal formulas. Initially, the shopkeepers offered reasonable prices, but later on, the prices became increasingly exorbitant. Eventually, they even demanded sky-high prices. However, at one shop, when a transaction failed, the man resorted to forceful robbery, which led to disaster. Afterward, rumors about a nascent soul cultivator wearing a straw hat quickly spread. For Wang Lin, this was very beneficial. At the very least, his acquisition of medicinal formulas became much easier than before. In 10 days, with the help of the ancient teleportation array, Wang Lin traveled to the border between the Inner Sea of Cultivation and the Chu Kingdom. During this time, he acquired a total of 8 5-grade medicinal formulas. If Wonder saw these remedies, she would surely be overjoyed. A slight smile appeared on Wang Lin's lips as he entered the Chu Kingdom. He no longer concealed his appearance, putting away his straw hat. But just as Wang Lin crossed the border of the Chu Kingdom, his expression suddenly changed, a cold glint appearing in his eyes as he glared at Yanjia sect, muttering softly, "You want to die?" Then his body flashed, disappearing from the spot. Zanbai was a man from the 5-level cultivation kingdom of Pai Luo. This name represented killing and bloodshed. He himself was a genius disciple of Pai Luo Kingdom, cultivating to the late nascent soul stage. But then, for some unknown reason, he stole the treasure codex of the Zimodao, betraying his sect. Under relentless pursuit, he continuously escaped. Although he himself was severely wounded, he also killed many fellow disciples and those who pursued him. Finally, under pursuit by a nascent soul stage cultivator, Zanbai fled to the 9 Nether Wilderness. There, he finally escaped from that nascent soul stage cultivator and stayed there for over 100 years. No one knows how he managed to survive those 100 years. All that is known is that after 100 years, he emerged, surprisingly, having reached the nascent soul stage. Even more terrifying was that he had subdued countless poisonous insects. Upon his return, he immediately attacked the demonic sect. When he attacked, the countless poisonous insects around him almost transformed into a dark cloud. Even early nascent soul stage cultivators perished at his hands. He knew that the demonic sect had late nascent soul stage cultivators, yet he still dared to attack and slaughter them, demonstrating his prowess. Ultimately, he was pursued and forced to flee. His pursuer was an elder from his sect, a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator. Eventually, he led this person into the 9 underworlds, and after that, no trace of him was ever heard again. 30 years later, Zanbai emerged from the desolate wilderness again. Although his cultivation was still only at the early stage of the transformation god realm, there was no news of that senior figure. However, he had given up his revenge against the demonic sect and left his homeland, venturing into exile, leaving behind a trail of fearsome reputations. The number of cultivators who died at his hands was countless. Even cultivators at the mid-stage of the transformation god realm found it difficult to confront him. He cultivated a type of magic that seemed to grant him an immortal body. Each time someone appeared to kill him, it was actually just one of his clones. Finally, he obtained a martial cauldron, becoming one of the chosen ones to enter the immortal realm. In the immortal realm, he continued his rampage. Only in the end did he encounter a formidable opponent, Wang Lin. Unable to harm him and suffering the loss of several clones, he reluctantly opened the returning cauldron and returned to the Vermilion Bird Star. It could be said that, among the 6 people from Vermilion Bird Star this time, he was the first to return. During the teleportation in the Void Return Peak, he, like Wang Lin, was also misdirected. However, Wang Lin was teleported to a different planet, while he was luckier. Although not teleported back to his original location, he was still in a different place on Vermilion Bird Star, specifically in the Cultivation Demon Sea. In the Cultivation Demon Sea, because of the heavy losses from his trip to the Immortal Realm, Zanbai resumed his killing spree. Almost every cultivator he encountered met their demise. His parasitic insects, after absorbing the blood of many cultivators, had begun to multiply. Zanbai charged forward, entering the Chu Kingdom. Therefore, the destruction of several sects was also to provide his insects with more flesh and blood to satisfy their needs. This is why the cultivators of the Chu Kingdom fell into this calamity. The messenger of the giant clan, upon seeing the man approaching, inwardly groaned. Although he was also at the nascent soul stage, his breakthrough wasn't achieved through his own enlightenment, but by absorbing the enlightenment of others. His strength was more than enough to easily bully nascent soul cultivators, but if he encountered someone as formidable as Zanbai, he wouldn't be able to resist. He could only flee, temporarily avoiding the storm. Zanbai stood on a towering mountain peak, surrounded by countless swirling clouds. His eyes revealed a bloodthirsty look as he stared at a distant sect. Cloud Heaven Sectus is the #1 sect in Chu Kingdom, very skilled in alchemy. After today, all these elixirs will be mine. I heard from people of other sects that the sect leader of the Cloud Heaven sect is a beauty. I really want to see, after being parasitized by my parasitic insects, where exactly is her beauty? Zanbai moved slightly, flying towards the Cloud Heaven sect. The screams of these insects echoed throughout the heavens and earth, creating an awe-inspiring spectacle. A few days ago, I killed a late-stage nascent soul junior from the Cloud Heaven sect. Before he died, he said Wang Lin wouldn't let me off the hook. How ridiculous! Who is this Wang Lin? I've never heard of him. Moreover, the Chu Kingdom is just a third-tier cultivation nation. It's impossible for it to have a nascent soul cultivator. This Wang Lin is at most a slightly powerful late-stage nascent soul cultivator. Since he's just a junior, I'll kill one if I encounter him. HMPH. Even if he's a nascent soul cultivator, haven't I, Zanbai, killed them before? After destroying the Chu Kingdom, I'll kill my way back to the Nine Nether Wilderness. By then, I'll definitely make the Insect King be born. After the Insect King parasitizes my body, my realm will reach the mid-stage nascent soul. Zheng Niu, then I really want to see if you can still resist me. Zanbai sneered. In Zanbai's eyes, the journey to the immortal realm was a complete humiliation. That Zheng Niu was an unknown figure. He didn't even care when Zanbai was being chased. Otherwise, joining forces with him would have certainly resulted in the immediate demise of his pursuer. I never imagined Zheng Niu could sever Hong Dai's arm. His reputation on this vermilion bird star is now soaring. All of this should rightfully belong to me. Zheng Niu, sooner or later, there will be a great battle between you and me. Zanbai sneered, but then immediately raised his eyebrows and muttered, Zheng Niu's Thunder Toad is truly a natural counter to my insect swarm. His eyes flashed, and he made up his mind. This time, no matter what, he would risk venturing deep into the Nine Nether Wilderness to find the Insect King. Once the Insect King is born, the Thunder Toad will lose its effectiveness. Before that, I just need to avoid provoking Zheng Niu. This person, who could sever Hong Dai's arm, cannot possibly possess the early stage of the God transformation realm as he appears. However, this vermilion bird star is so vast, even if I wanted to provoke him, it wouldn't be easy to encounter him. Zanbai snorted softly, his body flying away at incredible speed, instantly arriving outside the Cloud Heaven sect. The Cloud Heaven sect was enveloped in a blanket of white clouds, not naturally formed, but part of the sect's protective mountain formation. Not only could it protect the sect, but it could also conceal the entire universe within, a truly miraculous sight. Bai Trian hovered in midair, staring intently at the white clouds above the Cloud Heaven sect, then sneered contemptuously and shouted, Listen carefully, you youngsters of the Cloud Heaven sect. Open the mountain protection formation, release the elixirs, and furthermore, your sect master himself must come out to greet me. Inside the Cloud Heaven sect, silence reigned for a moment, then a gentle, soft voice emerged. The voice was extremely weak, yet carried a resolute will. Senior, you yourself are a nascent soul cultivator. Why make things difficult for a small sect like this? If you have any requests regarding elixirs, please feel free to command. Our Cloud Heaven sect will do everything in its power to fulfill your needs. A mocking expression appeared in Zanbai's eyes as he said, Really? So you must be the sect master of the Cloud Heaven sect, right? This junior is indeed the sect master of the Cloud Heaven sect. I hope Senior will not make things difficult for a small sect like ours. Li Muwen's voice slowly drifted in. Still very pleasant to the ear, full of meekness. Zanbai snorted softly, saying, I really want to see what the beautiful sect master of the Cloud Heaven sect looks like. With that, he raised his right hand and fiercely grabbed at the white clouds in the air. With a few cracking sounds, the white clouds instantly shattered. However, after dissipating, they quickly reformed. This formation is quite miraculous. It wasn't set up by your Cloud Heaven sect. Zanbai's eyes flashed. Senior, this formation was set up by the Giant Demon Clan to protect the safety of our Cloud Heaven sect. We hope you will show respect to the Giant Demon Clan and not make things difficult for us. Li Muwen sighed softly, then added. The Giant Demon Clan. Zanbai pondered for a moment, his eyes flashing. He waved his right hand, and a swarm of insects surrounding him immediately roared and charged forward, attacking. A continuous series of buzzing sounds emanated from the white clouds, growing louder and louder until finally only the buzzing of the insects remained. So what if they're from the Giant Demon Clan? Even if Chi Hu himself came here, he wouldn't turn against me for the sake of the Cloud Heaven sect. Zanbai sneered, his right hand unleashing another claw attack. Boom! A loud explosion resounded, the white clouds dispersed, and the surrounding clouds quickly vanished. A circular ripple suddenly spread out, a flash of light emanating from the center before disappearing. Along with the dissipating white clouds, a series of extremely magnificent buildings made of spirit stones appeared before Zanbai. The buildings stretched endlessly, their limits in sight. Zanbai couldn't help but take a deep breath, his eyes widening. After a long while, he laughed loudly, saying, "This cloud heaven sect is truly wealthy, unexpectedly using spirit stones for construction. While this scale is still far inferior to the immortal realm, it's still rare on this vermilion bird star. Ha ha. From now on, this place will belong to me, Zanbai." The mountain protection formation was easily broken, and everyone in the Cloud Heaven sect showed expressions of despair. Zanbai stepped into the Cloud Heaven sect. For over 100 yards around him, a dense mass of black insects swarmed, howling incessantly. Some of the lower cultivation female disciples of the Cloud Heaven sect were nearly frightened to tears. Zanbai extended his right hand, and several Cloud Heaven sect disciples were instantly seized by an invisible hand. From within the swarm, a multitude of insects rushed out, their bodies instantly covered in countless insects, some even burrowing into their bodies. The mournful cries of the Cloud Heaven sect members tore at their hearts. "Stop!" Li Muwen rushed out, soaring into the air, accompanied by several others. Their faces were grim as they glared at Zanbai. Zanbai laughed heartily, his right hand swung again, and the disciples' agonizing cries became even more mournful. In just a blink of an eye, a swarm of insects crawled out of their bodies, and they immediately slumped down, looking like skeletons, falling from midair. Li Muwen's face turned pale as she looked at the disciples, a trickle of fresh blood oozing from the corner of her mouth. Her body trembled, and when she looked up, her eyes were filled with venomous hatred. It was rare for someone with her temperament to look at others with such an expression. Indeed, quite pretty. "What's your name?" Zanbai's gaze swept over her, stopping on Li Muwen, and he asked. Li Muwen remained silent. "Her not going to say, simple." Zanbai chuckled, his right hand swung again, and the insects around him swarmed and spread out, almost enveloping the entire Yuntia sect. With just a wave of his hand, these insects would immediately swarm down, devouring any living creature they encountered. Although these insects were only the size of a thumb, their eyes revealed a bloodthirsty look. Upon closer inspection, their eyes were indistinguishable from Zanbai's. "Stop, my name is Li Muwen." A feeling of humiliation welled up from the depths of Li Muwen's heart. There was no other way. She couldn't stand by and watch the disciples of Yuntia sect perish because of her. Although the disciples of Yuntia sect had begun to disperse days earlier, thousands of them had persevered. These people stayed because they considered Yuntia sect their family, willingly fighting a battle, even if it meant death. Even Liu Fei and Sang Qing, along with the two late-stage nascent Soul Grand Elders, chose to stay. "Senior, what are your requests? Please speak." A white-haired, late-stage nascent Soul Grand Elder stepped forward, shielding Li Muwen, and looked at Zanbai, speaking slowly. Zanbai's eyes flashed as he stared at the old man, contemptuously saying, "Requests? My requests are simple. Kill all of you, take the elixirs, seal this place, and turn it into my private chambers. As for you, your name is Li Muwen, right? Not bad, you're quite pretty, so be my maid." "You're being too arrogant." A nascent soul early stage old woman beside him angrily shouted. She had reached the nascent soul stage thanks to Li Muwen. In her anger, she disregarded the difference in cultivation level and glared at Zanbai with hatred. Zanbai's eyes darkened, the bloodthirsty look in them intensifying as he said, "It seems I've been too merciful. Yuntia sect, annihilate." With that, he waved his right hand, and a swarm of insects immediately began howling, scattering ferociously and charging towards everyone. As for the old woman, the moment Zanbai waved his hand, countless insects swarmed towards her, screaming in agony. Even her nascent soul was devoured alive. This scene shocked everyone. The entire Cloud Heaven sect resounded with screams of agony. Li Muwen forced a sorrowful smile, her body trembling as she spat out another mouthful of blood, biting her lip tightly. Even the elders beside her were attacked by countless insects, struggling to resist. But except for the two late-stage nascent Soul Grand Elders who could offer some resistance, the rest were at a disadvantage, unable to escape. The insects were extremely bizarre. Almost no magic or magical artifact had any effect on them. At this moment, in the Cloud Heaven sect, except for Li Muan, everyone was caught in a battle against these insects. Li Muan bit her lip, her eyes filled with despair. Zanbai looked at Li Muan with amusement, rubbing his chin and saying, "To be honest, I've destroyed many sects, and you're the fourth female sect leader. Not bad. Although your cultivation isn't high, you're still suitable as a parasite for my swarm of insects." After saying that, he pointed his right hand, and a drop of fresh blood shot out from his fingertip. This drop of blood instantly exploded in midair with a thud, transforming into a ferocious, blood-colored insect that flashed and attacked Li Muan. However, the moment the insect lunged, a cloud of black mist suddenly appeared from Li Muan's forehead. This cloud of black mist instantly transformed into the form of a small beast, devouring the blood insect. A series of piercing screams emanated from the blood insect. Slowly, the screams faded, and the small beast's eyes darkened as it stood before Li Muan, glaring menacingly at Zanbai. Try and Beseech let out a soft sigh, staring intently at the little creature, and said, "A spirit beast." Li Muan remained silent, her gaze fixed on the distance, and she whispered, "Brother Wang, see you again in the next life, Brother Wang, haha. Is that Wang Lin?" Zanbai laughed loudly. Since entering Chu Kingdom, he had heard the name Wang Lin many times, even from those from other sects who were killed before their deaths. Your Chu Kingdom is truly strange. This Wang Lin seems very famous. Who exactly is he? Zanbai laughed loudly, extremely arrogant, his eyes flashing with disdain. I really want to know who this Wang Lin is. Moreover, I'm very surprised. With your cultivation level, how can you make these nascent soul cultivators willingly share life and death with you? Because she is my woman, I am Wang Lin. A cold voice rang out from behind Zanbai. After that sound was emitted, countless black, ghostly figures descended from the sky like statues, rushing towards the swarm of insects that had scattered in all directions. A swarm of insects had already entered Liu Fei's body, and despair flickered in his eyes. But immediately, a gust of dark wind entered his body. In an instant, the insect that was trying to devour his nascent soul seemed to encounter a natural enemy, struggling to break free from his body and fleeing frantically. Liu Fei was stunned, looking up and his gaze fixed on a tall figure behind Zanbai. Is it him? Song King's eyes were bloodshot. He had almost used up all his magical artifacts, but these insects seemed indestructible, relentlessly attacking. He let out a sorrowful smile. His spiritual power was severely depleted, but he didn't even have time to take out any elixirs. A slight delay, and his body would be covered in countless insects. The excruciating pain throughout his body drove him almost insane. He let out a pathetic laugh, his eyes revealing a madness, about to self-destruct his nascent soul. But at that moment, a gust of cold wind swept over him, causing his body to tremble. Whether inside or outside his body, the swarm of insects immediately shrieked and retreated. Song Qing was stunned, looking up to see a figure behind Zanbai that was 7 parts unfamiliar and 3 parts familiar. Is it him? At this moment, the two nascent soul grand elders in midair also felt the same gust of cold wind sweeping over them. The surrounding insects retreated. The two were stunned, immediately looking at that figure. Is it him? All the disciples of the Cloud Heaven sect, as long as they weren't completely dead, immediately felt the swarm of insects inside their bodies shriek in fear and quickly burrow out of their bodies the moment the cold wind swept over them. Is that him? Almost all the disciples looked up at the figure. Li Muan was startled to see the figure behind Zanbai. Tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. Although Wang Lin's appearance was no longer exactly the same as it was back then, she recognized him with just a glance. Wang Lin, Zanbai's body trembled uncontrollably. He hadn't noticed the other party coming right behind him. This could only mean that the other party's cultivation had surpassed his own. He spun around. The first thing he saw was Wang Lin, and his eyes widened in disbelief. Almost instinctively, he took a few steps back, exclaiming, "You, Zheng Niu." The entire Yuntia sect erupted in commotion upon hearing the name Zheng Niu. The name Zheng Niu is known to everyone in the Cloud Heaven sect. Recently, the most talked about figure on the Vermilion Bird Star is this Zheng Niu. Zheng Niu. Among the lower-ranking disciples, some immediately showed expressions of disbelief. Zheng Niu. Liu Fei was completely stunned. Zhang Yu. Song Qing felt his head reel. The two late-stage nascent Soul Grand Elders immediately blinked, revealing bewildered expressions. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with cold light. This kind of cold light only appeared when he massacred the Tang family. This kind of cold light only manifested when Wang Lin was extremely enraged. It was a sign that he wanted to kill someone. You want to destroy the Cloud Heaven sect. Wang Lin's voice was like a cold wind from the 9 underworlds. This cold wind blew over Zanbai, making him feel that it was even colder than the cold wind of the 9 underworlds. A person's reputation precedes them. Wang Lin could sever Hong Dai's arm and approach Zanbai from behind without him noticing. This was terrifying for Zanbai, almost before the battle even began, as he already considered retreating. Zhang Niu, I didn't know you were from the Cloud Heaven sect. I was reckless, Zanbai said. Reckless, W. Anv Lin's eyes flashed, and he suddenly lunged forward. The Forbidden's banner flew out of his storage bag, transforming into a black mist that shot towards Zanbai. Zanbai's expression changed, and he immediately retreated. Reckless, Wang Lin laughed maniacally, his hands forming a hand seal and pointing forward. Immediately, a series of wailing sounds erupted from within the Forbidden's banner, and streams of Forbidden's energy transformed into roaring dragons, rapidly converging into a black spear right in front of Wang Lin. This spear had previously terrified Hong Dai, forcing her to use her life-bound magic weapon to counter it. As soon as the spear appeared, rumbling sounds echoed in the air, enveloped by an endless black mist. Beneath this black mist, the swarm of insects seemed to encounter their natural enemy, emitting ear-piercing screams. Zanbai's expression changed drastically, and he retreated. Wang Lin grasped the spear, his body moving slightly, relentlessly pursuing. Time, Wang Lin shouted softly, patting his storage bag. Immediately, 9 statues flew out, expanding in the air, transforming into 9 venerables, covering all directions. Zanbai's retreating body slowed down. Reckless, he slowed down slightly, and the spear in Wang Lin's hand moved like lightning. At this moment, the heavens and earth trembled, and rumbling sounds echoed. The spear thrust forward. Zanbai let out a loud shout, his hands forming a cross, and a phantom image of a centipede 3 immediately appeared between his eyebrows. This centipede twisted its body and immediately crawled out of Zanbai's body. Its legs wrapped around Zanbai, forming a huge flesh cocoon. 3 centipede, a centipede. The power of the spear could shake heaven and earth. Boom! The spear pierced this flesh cocoon. With each violent and fiercely surging Forbidden's energy, the flesh cocoon immediately shattered. Zanbai, inside, retreated more than 10 meters the moment the cocoon was broken. His face turned pale, and he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Surprisingly, there were countless insects inside the fresh blood, which looked terrifying. Zhang Yu, don't underestimate me. Zanbai's eyes showed intense bloodlust. His voice was mournful. His mind was greatly shaken. The chaotic intent within Wang Lin's attack was too powerful. If his intent wasn't so unique, he would have instantly perished under Wang Lin's attack. Looking down on me, today I will humiliate you. The cold glint in Wang Lin's eyes didn't diminish. He slightly pointed his right hand forward, and immediately a seemingly ordinary beam of spiritual light shot towards Zanbai. Intent attack, Z. Hanbai's face turned grim. Without a word, he quickly retreated, fleeing. Wang Lin wouldn't let him escape. He moved slightly, chasing after him. At the same time, he slightly pushed his right hand backward, and immediately countless wandering souls roared from all directions, blocking Zanbai's path at incredible speed. Zanbai's face turned ashen, wanting to instantly teleport away from this place. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, and he swung his right hand. Suddenly, a deafening roar echoed from the sky, and an enormous spatial rift appeared, streaking across the heavens. The spatial rift appeared just as Zanbai was preparing to teleport. If he teleported at that moment, he would be instantly torn into by the suddenly appearing rift. You madman! Zanbai was terrified and immediately dared not teleport. Countless icy winds were instantly shattered, and the surrounding spiritual energy was frantically sucked in by the powerful rift. Zanbai had encountered many madmen and even killed cultivators in the god transformation stage, but he was filled with fear towards Wang Lin. Among all the people he had met, Wang Lin was arguably the most experienced in combat. Leaving aside other things, Just tearing apart space like this was something any god transformation cultivator could do. But using this method to prevent someone from teleporting was something he had never witnessed before. Moreover, tearing open such a large spatial rift would undoubtedly cause all the spiritual energy of the two kingdoms to dissipate. Therefore, it was utterly insane. Wang Lin's eyes were still filled with cold light as he relentlessly charged forward, his right hand pointing to the sky, unleashing a claw attack from a distance. Immediately, a huge circular scroll appeared behind him. It was a black and white scroll appearing silently and spreading out. You are fortunate to be the second person to become a sacrifice of the life and death intent. Wang Lin's voice was filled with gloom as he pointed directly at Zanbai, softly uttering, "Life and death transformation." Instantly, the scroll behind him seemed to be unfolded by a giant hand, expanding across the sky, growing larger and larger. Finally, it almost covered a radius of 10 miles, its power boundless. Even the spatial rift, under its power, silently closed. A gray wisp of energy diffused from within the painting. This was the first time Wang Lin fully unleashed his life and death intent. He released all of his understanding of the heavenly Tao and reincarnation, transforming them all into the power of heaven and earth.